Now. And there we go. Hey, welcome to
Oh,
my
hey.
midnight.
Hey, howdy, hey.
Coming in a day late, but if you're a time traveler, just go back to yesterday, but bring today's
Exactly.
phone and listen to it yesterday. So we're gonna get into that. Welcome.
Good old time travel, right? Couldn't have missed it because we're already back. So
It's always
fine.
happening. Yeah,
It's always happening.
and now it's living on the internet forever and ever.
And now just became then. So
It's
let's
not
move on
even.
and go.
It's
Let's
not
move on
even
to the
then
let's
anymore.
let's move on to the next now, which will be tomorrow, which is it's gonna be a full circle thing. Don't worry about it.
I want to finish this first, though.
Exactly. Moment by moment. Moment by moment. We'll get there.
moment. Welcome, everybody. Today we're talking about time travel. I've been thinking about time travel my whole damn life. I think the first movies I remember in my house were like the Back to the Future trilogy and the Star Wars trilogy. So, like, if that says anything about, if you've seen any of the other episodes and you're wondering about, he talks about Doc Brown or Obi-Wan way too much. Yeah, I know.
I've always thought that I could time travel.
I've
Like in
wanted to.
some small way. Like I always thought I was. I had that feeling not
Like
that
you,
necessarily like I've actually time traveled. Like I feel that. And I was talking about this with my daughter and and her mom. It was funny because I was just saying like, you know, people always think of time travel as this big grandiose thing of like, oh, I'm going back to like the 1800s or
Mhm.
see dinosaurs or going, you know, 2000 years into the future. It's like I look at time travel super short. Like, oh man, you know, you can close your eyes and travel back to a memory and taste your mom's food, remember what you were wearing, feel how the heat of the day was, like instantaneously by closing your eyes. Like, is that technically time travel? Or
Sounds like the
is
butterfly effect. Can you go back and affect things that then when you reopen
but
your eyes?
affecting has nothing to do with time travel. You have to think of it as like time travel is
Are we,
not necessarily a what do you call it? Man, how did I want to say that? It's not like you're getting in a car and you're going backwards or forwards, right?
Doc Brown, but go on.
Exactly. I did use that reference for that point. But like you have to look at it as okay, time travel can be as simple as a thought. Time travel could be as simple as, you know,
I,
knowing something
I mean,
or having or affecting something maybe before or after. I don't think you necessarily have to affect it where it's going to change how things were or change how things are.
Well,
But
by that definition, then we are all time traveling right now. We can all agree that we are time traveling,
that's
right?
exactly how I feel.
I,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that I am at this moment traveling at the same increment of speed into the future as us all. Like we are all almost,
No, incorrect. To
except
that point. To that point.
I mean, the difference in space. There's, if you're on
How much
the
gravity
space
you're affected
station
by.
further away. I know that you might be
Exactly.
milliseconds younger than me all of a sudden, even if we were born at the same time. But see, this is one of the funny things about time travel is there's all these different rules. It depends on the school of thought that you're
None of
coming
which
from.
are laid out, by the way,
None of
that
which are
are
laid out.
perfected.
I
No, I
mean,
mean like are perfected. It's all just like
exactly. Yeah.
conjecture. You know what I mean? 100%.
I've never seen one completely. I was gonna say like the way you put it, laid out there, like the whole logistics document.
Like
This is
this is the thing.
how.
Exactly.
This is
This
the
is the thing.
way, and then I'm
This is how
turning.
everyone
I would never
believes. It's like
stop.
no.
I'd be dedicated. I'd be the acolyte of time forever. But they all these different ways. The new Endgame, the Marvel one, that people had took issue with because they had their whole. Well, why can't we just go back and kill the bad guy? Right? He'll be a baby, and it's like, no, we can't affect things in our own past. It's like, well, then how does how did Captain America show up at the end of the movie, an old man? But that's time travel. See, Marvel didn't even have to explain it properly, and they still got time travel to work.
Yeah, right. Well, to work in quotations.
When you think about the idea of a paradox, like if I go back in time and eliminate my grandfather. Now there's no grandfather to be there for my mother or father. Therefore, I'm never born. Therefore, I never go back in time to eliminate that man. So I don't go back in time and eliminate that man. So he doesn't die. So he lives, and he's the father of my parents who give birth to me.
Yeah, well,
And then I go back in time, and I want to. It would be one of those universe-breaking things, the paradox.
Well, I don't know about universe breaking, but I think you have to either believe in string theory or not at all for paradox to work, because you know what I mean. Like if you don't believe in other dimensions, then you're instantly like, oh, that would end this dimension and your being, so you'd be gone. I'm like, that's.
Are we thinking of dimensions as the same as alternate timelines, or
one and the same,
or alternate universes? Okay, so
one and the same.
Gotcha. So then, I like that too, where when you go back in time, you just create a new branch, right?
Anything you alter would change and be a new branch, right?
But then
you're you of that timeline, like the guy you're probably going to bring up tonight, he talks about that too.
I have someone I'm going to be bringing up. I was actually just going to quickly go back to, starting light, dip a toe, like that, right?
Yeah.
And Marty McFly, he went back to the past and he thought that they fixed things. Then when they went to the future was a messed up version of the 1985 that he was supposed to be in, right? And talk about time travel. They didn't even make that movie in 1985. It was later. Anyway,
they actually called a bunch of things in that movie too. Speaking of which, the reason why I thought about today's episode, October 21st, the day that they were supposed to go to in number 2. October 21st, 2015.
October 21st, 2015. Wasn't October 21st something about Donnie Darko too? Donnie Darko had like October something written on his arm. Yeah, he had like the date.
Look it up. Interesting.
Yeah, it just popped in my mind. Donnie Darko is actually about time travel. It's just subtle, and also about God making time travel. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know, man. That got me off subject. I got myself off subject that time. But yeah, Donnie Darko also. I was like October 21st at something time. I can't remember, but maybe not. Maybe it was 31st because it was Halloween when it was supposed to happen. But anyway, lots of different movies we'll go over. All sorts of different quote-unquote rules. You and I, we've talked about, I think, did you tell me to watch Tenet? Or was that?
I did.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
I wasn't sure if it was like I saw it, and then we both called each other. Can you? Oh, you too?
No,
one of those.
I watched it like, I won't say where I watched it, but I watched it before everybody else.
Okay.
On a screener, we'll say. It was on a screener, technically.
Yeah. I believe you. And so
my buddy sent it to me, so you know what I mean? Like, what do you want to do?
That's a screener. That's a screener.
It was on a full DVD. It wasn't. Yeah, it was a complete screener. Had a bunch of scenes and stuff, edited that should have been edited out, but
yeah, really. So you got a little extra content.
Yeah, it's like uncut, kind of like a lot of mistakes and silly stuff in it too that you can actually see. But I like watching them like that. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
That was the first movie that you and I had said that this is the first time it actually feels like time travel, not time.
They got it right.
Hopping.
Yeah,
because
it was travel, not hop. Yeah,
and even though I'm gonna refer to all of it, whether you're in a DeLorean or the method of Tenet, where you step through the machine that just changes your body to be moving reverse in time to everyone else. However, time travel wants to work or anything, I'm going to call it all time travel. But in the movie Tenet, it was the first time that it really seemed like time traveling in the sense of like a train. We're going to get on a train. We're going to see the sights. It's not like hop on a plane, go to sleep, wake up, DeLorean. All right, once we get to 88 miles an hour, we're going to be there. And there you go. It's like, no. Walk in the machine.
Yeah, you walk in, you walk out.
You walk out, reverse. Try not to interact with much, because now your physics are reversed, by the way.
Yeah.
Be careful. No. Don't breathe the regular air. You got to breathe reverse air.
Reverse air.
The concepts in that movie were like, oh, man, someone's thought about it even more than I thought I did. Made me feel good to know that, like, I'm not up all night obsessing more than others. But
it was just nice to see that someone put some thought into it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, someone thought about time travel and was like, I want to do it a little differently than everybody.
But it turned out so much different.
Yeah, and try to like seal up all the holes that normally are gaps that people hate. You know what I mean? Like Lucy, I like that movie. And It was good until like some of the end parts where I'm like, man, they phoned it in. They're just like, whatever, this will work. And I'm like, God, you had it.
Was she actually traveling in time at the end of that movie, or was she astral projecting her mind, or was she because she interacted
really
with the other Lucy, who's all of our moms, right? Like the first human, according to the movie or whatever, you know what I mean? But like it's.
Spoiler alert. Whoops.
Spoiler alert. If we're your spoiler alert for the movie Lucy, then you are spoiler. Welcome to the internet, and
I mean, it was 2014.
You should have learned.
Go
most people, most people hated it already. Most people hated it.
Watch it or don't. I don't care. I hated it. I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it until the end, and I was like, "You mothers."
I mean, I don't know. I like the idea of fitting the knowledge of the universe on a flash drive. Again, that can only happen because of time travel. Seems like,
man, how's this?
That one they just shoehorn time travel into there.
They
right?
They just were like, oh, and by the by, that's how I was like, what?
And then she goes back in time and meets our common ancestor. Well, why? Yeah, right? Okay. Roll credits.
It's awesome, ain't it?
Roll credits.
Roll credits, yeah. And movie over. Thank you. Enjoy.
That was funny. I mean, besides movies, though, there are a lot of real life accounts, and this is the weird thing. Like, it's not like a theory that goes away. You know, I mean, people for years, and they showed it on Jay Leno. A lot of the late night shows, they were showing that ad from the newspaper. It's like safety not guaranteed. Remember, they made the movie Safety Not Guaranteed. It says, I'm looking for a partner to go through time. Bring weapons. I've only done this once, you know. And it circulated. And before it was like a meme on the internet, it was going the rounds through newspapers. It was getting reprinted in newspapers. And whoever was on the other line of the phone, it wasn't who posted the thing. And it was like, no one by that name lives here. We're not time travelers. Leave us alone. It was amazing. It ended up being found out later on, and like years later, someone tracked him down. It was a man who used to work for a newspaper, and they needed a couple.
Right.
They needed a couple extra spots in the classifieds, and
just filling the spot. Yeah, as a joke.
So he would have knock jokes. Why did this animal cross the road? Jokes. One day he just didn't have anything else. He just said, "Can I just put a couple fake ads in here? I'm tapped this week," and they're like, "Sure."
Like, who cares?
Okay.
Yeah, just fill it.
And he said, I'm looking for a time travel partner. And it didn't go away. He didn't even know about the hype. You know what I mean? I mean, that's amazing. But
it's funny. I mean, you think about it, you say something as a joke and it spools up that fast. I mean, I think of like another movie again about like War of the Worlds and all that stuff. Like, you know, that in that time a little bit different, but it's like, you know, something just supposed to be entertaining turned into a giant crisis, like inadvertently, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I'm
scared a lot of people in towns and everything went into panic.
Yeah. Like the radio show we're talking about, right? The radio show, Orson Welles. I love Orson Welles too. He did that. He did that to try to prove that I'm more than just a radio guy. He wanted to be in movies, and no one would give him the time of day because you're a radio guy. And he's like, I can do more than that. Watch, I'll scare the whole fucking world. Put me in movies now. Citizen Kane later. And people still don't shut up about Citizen Kane. It's a great movie for the time, but I don't know. I'm glad Technicolor really kicked in.
Yeah. I'm like,
you know,
good, I guess. Yeah.
It was good. It was fine. You know?
Fine. Yeah, it's fine. You know, whatever. Not a ride home for me back.
Yeah.
But yeah. I also think like we keep bringing up movies. That's, I mean, a lot of time travel stuff is going to be in movies, but like, you know, Flight of the Navigator
story.
Or translates the story. Flight of the Navigator, one of my favorite ones, right? Absolute favorite movies. I like the way that they did time travel in that one.
So good.
Because it almost made it like, yes, it's just a thing. Like, I don't know why you're making such an issue over this. Like, I'll drop you back off, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I got to do these couple errands. I'll pop you back over where you're supposed to be, and you'll be good.
It's like,
why are we making it a thing about this? And I love that it wasn't explained. It wasn't like this big issue. It was just like, hey, I picked you up. I was studying you. I'm sorry. I'll drop you back in your time period because this is how my ship works. And I forgot. I got knocked in the head. Basically, I don't know where I was, and I need star charts from your mind, and then I'll drop you back off.
Because
You know
the
what I mean? Like
test
that.
was, let's see how much star charts we can fill up this kid's head with.
Yeah. They're like testing basically animals. Like, let's see how much storage space these things have.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
They were
Like,
testing our
essentially.
HDD capacity because yes, we have
Like,
not
what's
moved
a
up to a
megabyte
solid
still?
state drive
Sorry.
yet. I'm sorry, we're humans.
It was the 80s too.
It was
so.
the 80s. Yeah,
Floppy disk, you
they
know?
were on cassette tapes, man.
Yeah. 256
Magnetic
megabytes, right?
tapes. Yikes. I mean, what I liked about that is I thought I did remember a little bit about the time travel explanation from that movie. Because the planet that they had to go to where they were doing the studying, it was so far away. And I'm bringing this up because of actually a real life, you know, we're on YouTube and a couple other spots too. And I was watching YouTube and this thing came up about, oh, scientists say that time travel is easy even. It's easy in theory on paper. Sure, you just have to be going near the speed of light. And then, you know, and like the math is all there according to that YouTube video, right? And it made me laugh because I was like, of course I'm talking about it, and so it pops up on the feed. I click it, and it's Star Trek rules. All right, we got a slingshot around the sun as fast as we can go, and then stop, and stop as fast as
Is
we
that
can.
what they did?
In Star Trek, every time.
In Star Trek. Yeah, I'm sorry.
In Star Trek,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
and that's how they were explaining on this YouTube the real life time travel is, where it has to do with going fast, because if you have to go a long distance, you know, you go at a time dilation. Time dilation means if I'm going near the speed of light on my way to Alpha Centauri, by the time I get here, my great grandkids might be dead because of old age. You know what I mean? And I didn't even know I had kids yet. My wife was pregnant when you left, kind of a situation. And then if you wanted to come back, well, no one remembers your name. Oh, we used to have astronauts. We just hit the button and go to Alpha Centauri now, you know. But then going
It's a lot easier now, but whatever.
But that's the time dilation to like throw yourself into the future in a way. They say it's almost not they. I'm sorry, I don't like the overarching they. But this one YouTube video also went on to say that moving backwards in time should seems to be not that different. And again, it sounded like slingshots and throwing things hard and catching them at the precise moment. And it's like, that sounds like Star Trek. Or if anyone out there has ever read Ender's Game or the Ender's Shadow series, or not Ender's Shadow, but Children of the Mind, Xenophobia, and Speaker for the Dead series, when they talk about the way they travel through time or travel through space, there's time effects. You know, the main character's 3,000 years old because he spends most of his time hopping between planets. So everyone thinks that he died. That right there, I don't know how they can go from, we know how to slow ourselves down to get a couple hundred years in the future. And it's basically the same to go back, but it takes a lot more power.
Like the math would have to be so immense to do something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
but when they say that, it just sounds cocky too. Like, come on now.
Yeah. I mean, there was one YouTube that I watched actually where a physics scientist was talking about how they just figured out how to do like quantum transference, and like taking, you know, a single what's it called, a photon cell, and like putting it in one place and then it appearing in another place.
Okay.
And they just started learning how to do that to some degree. They don't know how to do it like ridiculously far distances, but they're learning how to do it. And it's like becoming a real thing of like, okay, eventually we will have essentially
space folding.
Tesla, space folding, but like a Tesla transporter. You know what I mean? Like that's what Tesla was working on. So
it's that
like
thing that
pretty interesting that he
paper and they put the tips together, and you know, poke
yeah.
a hole, and there's nothing
stopping them. And then it's also talking about how like that one, I don't know if it was a proton. I might be misspeaking completely. I'm sorry, but it talks about how that one actual like proton or one unit exists in more than one space in time. So not necessarily actually in linear time, but in physical time, physical space time, because that's a whole nother thing too. When I started doing all this research, there's time space, and then there's time length, and then there's time. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like those are all different measured, and they're all measured in different ways too. You know what I mean? Which I thought was pretty interesting. A lot
Uh,
of times we forget that like our beliefs in gravity is how we measure everything
yeah.
essentially, and that has changed already in the last 60 years.
Gravity seems to have a
So
strong
even
effect on time as well.
yeah, and even gravity, like the way we measure gravity has changed. So our time has been adapted to that, but we haven't adapted any of our other measurements.
Yeah.
Which that's what one person was saying in another YouTube and book I was reading. He was saying that it's weird that we haven't gone through and go, oh, hey, you know what? We're one thousandth off. Let's change it back and make this measurement right, and it'll make more sense. It's like, no, we just leave the measurements in there and keep allowing them to be wrong. It's such a weird thing to do, you know what I mean? Especially as like a scientific and mathematical society, it's like our math is wrong. We
Our,
know it to be wrong.
I don't want to say our math is wrong. I'd say that in our attempt to continue grasping at what reality actually is, I don't think any of us can have a true grasp of the whole of reality. So as layers get unfolded, we start to learn. They have to start, and they even use it. What do they call them? They call them not fake numbers, but they have these. I can't remember what they're called. What are they called when it's not a real number? But like even pi. Yes, it's a number 3.1415, and you can go on to infinitum, but it doesn't matter because it's a symbol that represents a concept. The concept that doesn't that both does exist in nature, but you're not going to find it between your fingers. It's not 1 through
Yeah,
10. What are they?
just feels like
Imaginary numbers. Imaginary numbers. The concept of imaginary numbers, right? And the fact that they name it imaginary numbers is kind of like, uh, uh,
to me, it sounds kind of like a cop out. Like you don't want to just say you're wrong, and it's okay that you're wrong. You're learning to be not wrong. Like I hate that. Like it's such a weird thing to me.
I think of it as, okay, I have 3 test tubes right here, and I need to figure and I know that one of these test tubes has a poison that is killing that lady or whatever, and you have to test them all a certain way, even though you already know that one of them might not be what you're looking for, and 2 of them definitely are not. Do you see what I mean? Like you still have to run a test.
No, you lost me on that one.
I know exactly. See, I don't even get it. But like if you're having to run tests and you have to come up with like a control, they call it imaginary numbers. You know what I mean? Like so that they can. I feel like that's make us feel better. Like we know we had to start from nowhere. We know we had to start from nowhere. But
it's kind of it's like it's
but
like,
your radio works, right? So we got somewhere with that imaginary number. How imaginary is it?
It's not me saying they're wrong. I guess is a little too harsh for you, but it's like I'm looking at it like this: like it's wrong, but it is working for now. But you know that it's wrong. Just say, hey, we found out this was wrong. We're moving forward. We're gonna make it right and keep going.
And that's what science is supposed to be.
Instead of it.
Always.
Exactly. Instead of it being like, oh no, it's right. It's still right. It's like, no, we did what do you call it? Carbon testing for how many years? And then we're like, oops. You know what I mean? And it's like, oops. The whole like years of research and years of saying these things were perfect. And yes, this is how we measure it. And it works. Like, oh, actually, we found out it doesn't.
And did you know that
right.
Every time there's a nuclear weapon that gets tested on this planet, carbon dating changes it. Like the radiation, the nuclear radiation signature on this planet hits
was changing the lifespan of carbon.
Yeah, it was looking
it's comical to me only because didn't figure that out. You know,
is this a 10,000-year-old bone, doctor? You're looking at my hand. Exactly. But at the same time, carbon dating is something that it helped. It's a stepping stone on a path.
Well, I mean, of course. I mean, I think it's great. I just think being able to admit, like, hey, we're wrong, but we're going to find a better way this time. Is like it's big. it's bigger to me. It means more to me than being like, no, 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 this is still good, you guys. It's like, God, just
I mean, I think
we'll
they're
never
going to
get
keep.
any better.
Well, you know what?
We won't advance unless we have aliens or something come down and be like,
I don't know, man. I mean, unless aliens got us here. I mean, look, 100 years ago, I mean, if I wanted to talk to my friend in another state, guess what? Forget your friend's name because it's too long. The wagon's not going to get you there. Pretend your friend died. Because I'll tell you what, the postman probably will trying to deliver the letter. And so,
right,
bye,
right.
friend. But now we live in a world where I'm having a chat with my buddy in another state, and we're projecting the whole conversation to the world. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
it has
I think
it
that
has
is
its
going to get applied
benefits.
to time as well.
I don't think so. I mean, I wish that, like we were talking about like 2 or 3 episodes ago, like the exploration, you know what I mean? Like the
Yes.
want for more exploration is gone. Like that's not something that is really as strong as what it used to be. So I
Not
don't
in the
think we
grand
will put that
sense.
much we won't put that much time and effort into actually getting into time exploration. I think also people look at time as humans as we do because we're kind of greedy and we're kind of, we want power, blah blah blah. They think you're going to only be able to use it for bad. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's
So I understand
yeah.
that, and I look at it. I look at it because I'm one of those, superhumans that looks like I would use my powers for good and use my powers for, not personal gain, but for world gain. But how many of us out there are like me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I could go invisible, my first thing is not to go rob banks. You know what I mean? Like that's not my first thing in my mind. Like that's stupid. What a
No.
waste. What a waste of my energies. Like what?
Yeah. I mean,
You know what I mean? Why?
yesterday's lotto is a lot more legit, right?
Even that, it's like, why? Like, so you're more rich? You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Like, what if you can use some your power to go invisible to make the world better in some sort of way?
What
Why would
about
you use it for stupid monetary gain? Like, who
well,
cares? So you die rich? Like, who cares? You're gonna die anyway. You didn't give anything to the world to make the world better. That's how I look at it. Like,
as
if you're
soon
not
as
trying,
as soon as time travel were to actually become a concept, though, then anyone's contributions are null and void. Because if time travel were to exist, then there's no way to. Let's say time travel exists.
that's
Then
assuming that you can actually travel through time and affect anything.
that's what I'm
That's
saying.
assuming that.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
assuming that. Assuming all of that, then let's say the internet didn't get invented till the year 3200 AD, which means what? Another 1200 years? No, time traveler brought it back and just wouldn't tell us where it came from.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like
So then, you know, when was William Shakespeare born? You know,
yeah.
in he was the first human alive. What are you talking about? We went back and we brought him to the future. Do you see what I mean?
I mean,
Like,
you wouldn't, but would you have that reference though? If right, like you wouldn't have that reference of it would be all new.
I'm not going to get into the whole was William Shakespeare a real person thing tonight
No, no, no. I'm
because
saying like by your own rights. Like if you're saying like, okay, we went and changed it, like everything you believed before wouldn't be existent. It can't.
or by going back and
You
affecting the
wouldn't even
change,
think.
that's the
You
only
wouldn't
way
even
to
think
make
that.
things, or that's the only way to set things into motion. The paradox is factored into the natural timeline. Think
I mean,
about that
would it
one.
be a paradox at that point though? Because if you're changing it, is it paradoxical or is it just a new timeline?
What if I am the paradox? What if I have to make sure? What if my dad's the paradox and I'm an ancillary whatever, and I have to go back and make sure that my grandparents do not copulate? I know that this is weird, but I'm just
I mean,
saying,
in
you know
theory,
what I mean?
if
Like
you
this is
did,
just in
yeah, this is
theory.
great.
This is a
In
great
theory.
theory. I have to
Yeah,
go
it
back
is.
and find a
In
way.
theory, if you did, you wouldn't be able to be talking about it.
I wouldn't be
because
able to
you
be
wouldn't
talking
exist,
about it.
right?
Exactly.
So you couldn't have done it. So you didn't. So you wouldn't.
Or the other
Or-
way, which
Yeah.
is I'm the extra player on the board who gets to go around, move around, and even though the game gets to play out properly, nobody ever sees me on the board. Everyone forgets me, and that's what's supposed to happen.
Or your existence isn't tied to your past,
And that right there,
which means you could go back and affect the past and it wouldn't have any effect of your timeline.
the branching timelines, right?
Branching
So the
timelines,
branching
right?
timelines.
In my opinion, makes more sense because then you start thinking of stupid stuff like butterfly effect. Like, oh no, he stepped
Yeah.
on that roach. Now that roach isn't going to go and eat this leaf, which means that the crops aren't going to grow. And like, it's too minute. It's too much minutia where you're like, dude, you wouldn't be able to go back in time and take a deep breath because you could eat a gnat that needed to, propagate with some fly and like destroy, destroy something cataclysmic. Like you wouldn't be able to suck the same oxygen into your lungs. You know what I mean? It would be deadly to the whole world. Like there would be so many things that would go bad.
I mean, yes. So the atmosphere difference, if we were to try to go back in time and see the dinosaurs, you're fucking crazy if you're not wearing a spacesuit. Yeah, because the oxygen was different. I mean, obviously,
Assumably, right? Yeah.
I mean, it had to be. I mean, we weren't pumping it. We humans are used to
Probably more oxygen alone. You
a
know
hell
what I
of a
mean?
lot more oxygen. We'd probably our heads would
rich.
pop. Our heads would pop. You know what I mean? I mean, there's been hot times, there's been cool times on this planet, but you know what? I'm going to get just right back to some of the time travel stuff. Have you heard of Dr. Ronald Mallet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Ronald Mallet loved his father. His father passed when he was young, and has spent his life studying astrophysics, trying to be the real Doc Brown. I mean, and he seems to have. I mean, he's not going away. It's not like he's a fool getting laughed off the stage. People are like, "Yeah, Ronald Mallet's the one who's taking the lead on that." It's what it seems. I can't see anyone who's like,
yeah,
that
kind
guy.
Of just like, yeah. They're not even like. There's nothing. They're not even saying like he ain't gonna do it. They're like he's working towards it.
Yeah, he's working on it.
He's gonna do it. He's got some ideas. Yeah,
people just say he's working on it. That's amazing.
Like that about him.
That's amazing.
Like he's headed towards something. Yeah.
Like and as amazing as his work is, like he's still not talked about nearly as much as someone who you might think is a wackadoo. Which I use that term loosely.
I think a lot of that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't want to discredit anybody, but I think it's the way that you have tact about what you're bringing up, your information and your truth, we'll say in quotations. And he's not as brazen as some of them.
He seems very humble. And he even, the last thing I was seeing, he even said, "Yeah, we're probably not going to figure out it in my lifetime, but the work I'm doing will lead to." Man, to see himself as a human in the grand scheme of humanity. I love that guy. I hope that we can figure out time travel, just keep him alive forever, and not the Walt Disney frozen head thing. I don't even know if that's real, by the way.
It's like I was saying, like being able to contribute to society, like think of how amazing that is. He's using his talents, man, to further the earth, or further the human society. That's awesome.
I'm curious if certain things, time travel, you think that could be a talent people could just pick up, or do you think that could be like something that you just always have to work toward? Like I can understand if you are just naturally a genius. I don't think I am one. If you just understand everything that's always put in front of you, and then, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at, there's a couple different ones like I have in my list of notes here, like types of time travel, and like there was this one girl who was she was going all over like the radio circuits in New York for a while. Her name was Tequila Mockingbird, and she was saying that she could time travel. And essentially, she was like time projecting, so she could project herself into another time space, come back, and then have information that most people would never have. And they couldn't figure out how she was doing it. And she was like going into the future, like an hour, and coming back and being like, "Oh, this or something like this is going to happen at this time in this area." And it wasn't super specific detailed stuff. It was vague, which kind of made me feel like Miss Cleo situation. But it's like this lady wasn't this mathematical genius or probability science, person. So I'm like, she's not trying to pull a scam, and she's not trying to get rich. And she's just being like, "Oh my God, there might be a car accident in this area." And then whammo, it happens. People were like, "What?" I mean, it was weird stuff like that, like Tropon or Copon Topaz.
That was a whole situation. Yeah, I mean, but if you just throw out as many predictions as possible, you're gonna get one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, something's gonna land, of course.
You know, people were talking about all the even this year, Great Britain lost the longest monarch to reign, the longest reigning monarch of
Right.
all time or
Living. Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah. Living monarch. Yeah.
The longest living monarch, right?
Right.
You know, holding the position and everything, and people were earlier this year throwing out predictions, just like people do every year. The day and time of when someone will, and it's morbid to want to be like, oh look, I'm the person who, like, how
Yeah,
many
I got
fake
it right. Oh my
you have
god.
30 accounts. You have 30 accounts that had different
That's when you get
date on
that
each one,
on
so
your
that you can
door.
exactly, you know. Um,
Like, yeah, you did get it right. Can we have a word with you?
you know, the idea of,
Step outside.
I don't know. See, that's to me sounds more like precognition. That I don't really think
I
of
mean,
when I'm thinking of time travel. I think of that as
I'm not
almost like a
saying like
psychic
that.
phenomenon. That almost relates to destiny.
That wasn't only like that. Her thing wasn't only like being able to just recount stuff. It was also like she would only travel into the future. That was one thing that she said. So she didn't travel into the past because she felt like traveling in the past was too dangerous. Because she believed in like the whole paradoxical kind of thought
Butterfly
process.
effect, right?
Yeah, butterfly effect, exactly. So she was like, well, if I travel into the future, it doesn't matter because it's already going to happen. I can't change what's going to happen in the future. I can only change what happens in the past. And she also wouldn't use it for like saving herself
Okay.
or I know, I'm just saying it's not my story. It's not
No,
my
I know,
story.
I know.
But yeah, she wouldn't use it for like, monetary gain and stuff like that. She lived kind of a humble life in New York and not really crazy. I think she was on like one or two YouTube channels where they
I'll have
like
to look
interviewed
her
her.
up. I didn't.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Tequila
They
Mockingbird.
they made fun of her on one of them. I felt kind of bad because she picked up on it and was just kind of like, I'm just gonna play with them. Like, who cares? And I was like, man, you got to be a piece of crap to be dumb enough to make fun of somebody to their face and think they're not going to notice it, or you think that you're that smart.
That's
you know what I mean?
low.
Or you think that you're that smart, and it just showed. And on his channel, like you could tell, like people were just bashing him. And I was like, Jesus, man, knock it off, dude.
You know, along with some other so-called, self-claimed, proclaimed time travelers, a lot of them kind of get that kind of pushback where we live in the age of the internet. People are going to get polarized. Like, but some people go really far where they're just like, again, maybe you wish you could go help someone in the past you don't have anymore, and just the idea of someone else saying they can is offensive. Some people can take offense that way, and so they can come out guns a-blazing, screw you, I don't want to hear any of this. And other people are ready to say, Sensei, what need you of me? For I am here for you, or whatever. They will become his disciple the moment he says, "Oh yeah, I got a flux capacitor."
There you go. I think that's the way of the truth. You know what I mean? Like either people believe it or people think that you're horrible for saying that it is the truth. You know what I mean? So
have you heard of Mike Markham? Mike Markham is one that kind of got Mike Markham. It was a story it started on Coast to Coast. I'm a big Coast to Coast fan. Anytime I get to mention stuff that happened with Art Bell, it'll happen. Mike Markham was a guy who he was playing with Jacob's ladders and Tesla coils, and he was saying something about throwing something into the arc at a certain and it disappeared, and it came back, and and it popped in like 20 minutes later, and he went and the story goes that he stole electrical transformer material from, electrical transformer, I don't know where to fucking get it. He stole it from somewhere apparently, right? And then he was building a big one. He was trying to send himself to the future to get the lotto numbers again. So this is what it always comes down to. And I wanted to say earlier to you, you are right. It's almost like every time, and even, and I mean this in like the nicest way, because I don't even think being selfish is a bad thing. I think selfish is one of the keys to getting us all to the future. But we're all in this selfish thing together. That's what most people don't get. Anyway,
to some
even
degree,
Ronald Mallet. I mean, his he's driven by wanting to go back and help his father. It's not
I mean, I wouldn't
prevent
say it's
poverty across the world. So that can be
that's a love thing, and not.
that's a
I mean,
love
I guess
thing. Do you see what I
that's
mean?
like
And
that's not something that's gonna affect someone else like badly.
but,
You know what I mean? So
yeah, but other people
I'm like, that's okay.
would possibly say, well, you should be publicly doing it for these reasons. And it's like, let
Well, I
the
feel
man
like
have his
if-
passion.
Well, I
Because
also feel like if he does it, think of how much he could do for you too.
exactly.
Think of what he could do for you, or how he could show you how to do the same. Like,
Yeah. People screaming, what about the children? I don't see them coming out with time travel papers, right?
right,
So
exactly.
like, let the man. But just the
Give him
way
a whirl. Let him.
the
Let
way
him
we're
work,
in this
man.
public world where no matter what you do, someone can take a look at what you're doing. And he's a scientist. If he wants to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
recognized, he has to publish. You know what I mean? So like, the whole thing is about putting yourself out there, and we live in a world where, man, the most anyone can give their opinion on what you say. You know,
And everyone's got an opinion, man.
yeah,
So it's fine.
It's amazing.
I think it's good too, because
It is good.
sometimes those opinions, are differing for our own, and then it makes you realize, oh, I was thinking this for so long that it's not fact, it's not truth. You know what I mean? And I got to change up the way I've been thinking. Like, I think that's good.
Absolutely.
That's part of the reason why I joined the podcast with you, because you were saying, it's going to be live, and we're going to be able to have a bunch of people come on and tell us, how they feel and different from us. And I'm like, that's great, because that means I can do research, and it's not just me trying to prove Cappy wrong.
and trust me, it can happen. I can be wrong.
There will be one subject one day when I change Cappy's mind. Mark it down.
And for the record, I don't usually assert myself on any one side or other. That's the way you never be wrong. You never take a side. Anyway,
Exactly.
some people
That
call
would
me
make you
wishy-washy. I just say, what was that?
Dude, chill out. Chill out.
Take it easy, man. Who cares?
Yeah, dude, just live it free, bro. Why you
Yeah.
tripping?
That's funny. I don't know. We talked about the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect makes me think about time travel as well. If you can affect something so drastically, I mean, if they can flip a switch at CERN theoretically, and all of a sudden our past
that whole
is
CERN
different,
thing.
is that because someone from CERN, some action, something they did affected the? So that would be time travel. That would be time travel that has felt like a ripple.
A ripple effect. Yeah.
Not the branching timeline where I still live in the land of Berenstein with an E, and there is now another universe with the stain as with the A. It's another, it was not a good movie, not a great movie. But who was it? Ben Kingsley in that movie, where like
Which one?
they went back in time and someone stepped on a butterfly, and then they stepped off the path. They had this perfect time travel safari. You go back in time and you shoot a T-Rex in the face, and they figured out that they can always go back to the same point in time and always kill the same T-Rex. And as long as no one strays off the path, nothing is bad. But then one person took a stray off the path and stepped on a bug, and then everyone in the present time, like, it would be like, like the event horizon rippling wave of, coming and like, and all of a sudden it washes over us, and I'm wearing a blue shirt now. And we're talking about werewolves tonight, because we always were. That's how it was. But somebody else would remember it and say,
Sound of Thunder?
bro, that's got to be it. Is Ben Kingsley in that?
He is in it. Sound of Thunder. I'm looking up on.
Yeah, I like Ben Kingsley, but man, does he find
IMDb.
himself in some movies like that? Yeah, that one was an interesting one. Sound of Thunder, that was it. Gosh, then they had like the weird.
Yep, that was it. A single
Yeah.
mistake in the past by a time travel company in the future has devastating and unforeseen consequences.
And that one seemed to be a static one universe, not like a string theory type universe, because when they went back to that past, which again, they would go back to the same moment in time, they were leading tons and tons of safari people to keep going back and killing this one, but none of the safari people were running into each other. Like, I'm leading the safari every time, we keep going back to kill the same T-Rex, and I'm not just like, oh,
At the same time, not seeing the same. Yeah, seeing them.
I don't see me walking by, I don't be like, oh, hey, yesterday, what's up tomorrow? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
we pass each other in the halls.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh?
So like again, when it comes to movies, things get mixed up a lot. They got to make it more entertaining than scientifically valid, and which is again, you know what? Sometimes they're fooling me because with the degrees I
They've got you
hold,
figured.
with the degrees
Yeah.
I hold, they can pull the rug
You
over
can,
my head, my eyes,
you can
over my whole
multiply
head.
mine by 10 and I'm still lost.
Oh man, it's all Macedonian to me. Now,
See, I always say Phoenician.
Phoenician.
It's all Phoenician, man. I don't know what the
They
heck is
did come
going
up
on.
with our script. They did come up with our script.
Exactly.
Man. Um, now, there's one person who does, and I made sure to have you take a glance into him before.
I did a deep dive because of you. Thanks a lot. I'm kind of angry at you, but go on.
There's kind of no way to learn about Andrew
Cannot-
Basiago without
skim over
a
it.
5-hour video or
The
7.
shortest video about him is 2 hours.
And
That's
it
the
doesn't even
shortest
give
one I
that
could
much
find.
info.
And it's crap. I
It's
had to
not
watch
really
the
that much
7-hour
info.
one.
If you wanted to learn anything, I know, right?
Yeah, I was like, I got to get the full story if I'm going to listen to it.
Andrew
Crap.
Basiago is one of the most. I mean, I don't know how to put it. It's like
You put your take on it because I got a whole different one, I'm sure.
It's another one of those. Look, I want to believe these things. I'm the ultimate want to believer, but it's just really hard because he says so many things that, like, man, they tickle my ear. Right? Tesla technology, DARPA, secret government space programs, Mars
Lost me.
colonies.
Back in.
Okay, well, here's where he lost me.
That's how his conversation goes with me.
Yeah,
Lost me.
lost me.
Back in.
Back
Wait.
in.
Lost me. Crap. Oh
So
my
see,
God, what?
the Mars colony. So, okay, I'll start from the beginning.
Barry Satoro. Say what?
Barry Satoro. So you know about Barry Satoro now. He's
7 hours. God dang it.
7 hours. You better know the name Barry Satoro.
Barry Satoro.
And if
That's
anyone's
almost-
watching this show, I want to make sure that you also know the name of Barry Satoro by the end of tonight. Because if it is who we're told he is, he's literally the most charming
Mic drop
man
bomb. Yeah.
ever. Serious.
Exactly.
How do I vote to force someone to have a third term? Anyway, Andrew Basiago,
Where do I sign?
he's got this kind of a, while he also comes across in a, yes, I have all this information because I lived it, he also seems to really much love his father. He loves his father. His story seems to be he wants to make sure people know what his father did for the government.
I think he wants his father to have recognition. And he never did. And I think it broke his heart.
I understand
and he's trying to do everything to bring light to his father's accomplishments. Let's be real.
And that is exactly what it looks like. But then the hard part about that is what his father's accomplishments are when they are what would be considered a fringe science.
Yeah, I was going to say, not exactly something that was brought to light to everybody and still isn't.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. It's...
It makes me think of like my uncle, well, he's my great uncle, Uncle Jesse, working on the first version of Radar and like coming home and like trying not to tell your family about it. And then it comes out and it's like, yeah, I did that. And they're like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do you know how crazy of a bit of science that is? It's like, yeah, I've been working on that for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like,
can you believe
that's how that feeling is?
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, when it comes to top secret, we're still not allowed to know. So here's the other hard part. The government does not want the information about what his father did. Starting from the point of his father really did it. Now again, I'll go really quick.
I'll believe it. Yeah.
His father is the man who seems to have invented, or at least really helped out and dialed in the teleportation. His father took him somewhere and said, we're going to go to the hardware store. And then instead of the hardware store, he took him into a teleporter. And boom, they're in like Colorado or something. New Jersey
to New Mexico.
New Jersey to New Mexico. Okay.
7 hours.
Oh, man. You're going to hold that over me forever.
it was interesting. Go on. I'm
It
sorry.
is. It is really weird because he. The weird thing about Andrew Bashag is when he's telling the story, he has kind of he's talking like he sounds like a kid in a way. Sometimes he sounds like a kid in the way that if I was telling you a story about when I was a kid at Disneyland, I might start to get a little excited because I remember how excited I was. Because I was that kid I'm telling the story about.
He reminds me of listening to a story from you, like I was saying before I told you that. But the way he goes off into too many examples, it loses me and it makes me not want to believe him because his examples are so over detailed that I'm like, bro, you wrote this down. You wrote this down and you've rehearsed this 1,000 times. It reminds me of like when we were, doing talks in the Kingdom Hall and all that. Like you had it memorized, so it was real. You know what I mean? Like regardless if you knew the information, you had it memorized and it was real to you. So you just are spewing the same information over and over and over until someone believes. And I was like, God, it hit me in the feels because I'm like, this guy really loved his dad, like you're saying. Also, he is like he's missing some of his information, by the way. If you watch his 7-hour and then you watch his 4-hour, he mixes up his dates and some of his places. And I'm like, that literally, like after I watched the 7-hour one, which by the way, took me like 3 days, but after I watched that one,
that makes sense.
Man, yeah, I'm like, let me watch a 2-hour one in my traveling to and from calls and such. I was like, man, like this guy's story just went all wonky. And then I was like, let me just skim through a couple little ones. And his story just keeps falling apart where I was like, oh man, I was such a believer of him. I believe his dad. I believe everything he says about his dad is always spot on, the same thing. Stuff that he says, I felt like when he got a little bit more famous and we got like towards like 2014, 2012 to 2015,
as 2016
he got kind of off the rails.
As 2016 was approaching, he really thought he was going to be elected president, so he really wanted to make sure to get his name out there and everything. But
yeah, he was like, I gotta promote myself and make myself a big deal because I'm going to be the president.
And that's another thing. He was basically told that he was going to be president, but he also has these weird caveats. That come out later on, which is depending on whatever timeline we actually happen to have landed in, which we won't know until it happens. It's either me supposed to be president or Barry Soetoro. All right, I'm just skipping right to Barry. All right,
exactly.
Barry Soetoro. Andrew Basiago claims that after being you have
to talk about where you meet him. Yeah, where you meet Barry Soetoro, why he meets him.
We meet Barry Soetoro because Andrew Basiago says that he was part of, and was he 16? I don't remember, man. 13 maybe.
13, yeah.
13. So his story is that the American government in the 60s and 70s was sending children into time and space. Now, the one thing, though, that he did say that really caught me, I'll go into that in a second. The government was sending in, I know, dude, it's how I am. I'm sorry about that. Everybody who's watching. He says that they were sending kids, which is like fucking wild. Let's just be honest. You're going to send kids? But now it's something that he said that his dad said to him, which was something along the lines of, throughout history, if a family wanted to go somewhere, if it was the Oregon Trail and we were going west, you would have to take a dangerous trip with your children. It's part of being a human. It's no risk, no reward, but look where we got because of it. And it was like, oh damn.
It was also
that's something weird. That's something great. Not weird. First time that stuck with me more than anything.
Yeah, the first time that he did it and took his kid, the thing that hit me hard because I got 2 kids is it was literally like a proof of theory. And it's like, dude, let's see if it works up. He was like, no, you guys don't believe me? You're trying to tell me I'm a liar? I'll put me and my kid in it then. What if it failed? Because you took 2 people, you moron. You've been doing it with 1 person this whole time. And
Seth Brundle got mixed with a fly.
Exactly what I was going to go to. You go into it and mess up your kid because you guys get mushed together and become a grundle fly. You know what I mean?
Brundle. Did you say grundle fly?
Brundle, B.
Brundle with a B, just making sure.
I was too close to the mic. Brundle. Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah, Andrew Basiago, after going through teleporter, his dad invented teleporters. Then his dad helped with the time travel. They started sending him back, and he was such a good boy. They wanted to give him a treat, and they said, "Hey, why don't we send you back to Gettysburg? Because because hey,
By the way, they have the picture of him there.
that's a whole other thing."
No, you can
There's
look it
a
up.
picture.
That's
The
the whole
picture is
thing.
there.
He talks about it. Him being the kid in that picture of
He
the
showed up
Gettysburg
with no
Address.
shoes.
He showed up with no shoes.
Somehow
Yeah.
he had no shoes, and this cobbler put him in these oversized
Yeah.
shoes, and you can see, look, you see the boy standing there. So there's a picture of a boy, and we will
Oh my
assume this
God,
picture
right?
was taken at the Gettysburg Address. Is all we can do, because I don't know.
They know that is that because there was a couple different other little like documentations of that picture, but
I've got pictures
they
of
don't
me and
know.
Jane Fonda.
that's like
I've got
being,
pictures of me and Jane Fonda
that's
together
like being one
on my
kid
computer
at-
right now.
No.
I'm just
Think
saying.
about this. That's like being one kid at the Million Man March and be like, look, see that dot? That one's me. See how it's blurry and my hair is kind of curly right there? It's
I'll
like,
never
yeah, it's a
forget that
Million
day,
Man-
because that was
it's a
the
Million
shirt I
Man
was
March,
wearing.
bro. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, like see, my hair was curly that day.
It was
I
so
remember
curly.
that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, get the hell out of here, man.
Dude.
That's another time when I was like, oh, this guy, shut up. You had me, and you lost me again.
And I'm with you there. As much as I like Andrew Basiago, and I have thought about this guy too many days out of the last 12 years, honestly, like, as soon as he pulls out picture evidence of him standing at Gettysburg, it's when my head just falls back. Like, my neck doesn't feel strong enough to hold up my head anymore, and I just want to lay down and be like, I don't know, Andrew. I don't know, man. So then,
Come on.
after the
bro.
time travel stuff, he got a little bit older. He was a grown-up. 12, 13, by government standards, it's good enough. To send a boy to Mars. And this is what Andrew Basiago says. He says he was part of the crew that began the Mars colonization in the 1970s.
What was the name of it? Yeah, 75.
Project Pegasus?
Project Pegasus. Yeah.
Project.
By the way, it's his
Pegasus.
website.
It's his website, of course, because what are you going to do? Go to projectpegasus.gov? You know that's not going to pop up. They got that under lock and key. But he's blowing the whistle for his dad. And also, all right, jumping into Barry Soetoro. Barry Soetoro is Barack Obama. He met Barack Obama, is what he says, who was going at that time under the name of Barry Soetoro, which... And they all just had a great time on Mars.
It's all buddies. Oh, and don't forget George W. Bush Jr.
W?
Yeah, the one who became president. He was also part of the same project.
George W. was there?
And Bill Clinton.
Now that of course. Slick Willie, he was always
Slick Willy
involved.
Will. My
But-
favorite and best president. I'll say it. I don't give a crap.
You know, did we make money those years? Anyway, moving on.
The only president to bring us out of deficit.
Uh,
Ding! Move on.
yeah, I don't
Because he was a
know.
time traveler, motherfucker.
I don't have many opinions, but I do think the government's only job is to make money for the government. Anyway,
Make the government more rich, right? Wouldn't that make sense?
doesn't that bring the whole country?
Doesn't it? I think it's
up?
kind of like that ladder thing. You give your friend $5. I take 3 of those $5. I'll put 2 of those $5 back in. We all move up the ladder. You see?
What, dude? All right, my social number is
Exactly.
sign
The Invigoron
me
berries.
up. Yeah, exactly. The schnozberries taste like schnozberries.
No, like from Always Sunny. You gotta sell more Invigoron berries. Sell more Cutco knives.
Cutco knives. Oh man,
We all move up the ladder.
We all move up
It's
the
a
ladder.
funnel system.
Now,
You see?
it's a
It's an
funnel.
upside down funnel system.
Reverse that.
Flips it
Oh
over.
no!
Pyramids.
Unbelievable. So yeah,
That's kind of how I feel about him, by the way, too.
with
this
Andrew
guy.
Basiago.
Bashago, yeah.
It's tough because he He also doesn't have anything bad to say about Barack Obama. He just kind of casually, he seems to hold Barack Obama
Yes.
in the highest regard anyone can. I
They're
mean,
like
shit, they were
buddies.
on Mars together. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, they were
not
like
gonna
buddies. So
yeah, they're like pals. But he's also pretty open about just being like, yeah, that's not his name. In a time when people are like questioning the man's birth certificate and shit, and just
And
like, yeah, his real name's Barry
everything.
Soetoro. Great guy. Definitely, I want him to be president, even though he's lying about his name.
no, he,
And went to
I mean,
Mars.
he didn't like him as president, but
He didn't like him
liked
as
him as a
president?
friend. No, he talked pretty bad crap about him actually.
Oh man, you know, some
Well,
things
his,
I just
his presidential ways, I guess you say.
I don't think I'm gonna parlay this podcast onto like picking on any one person for what they do ever. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna
No,
be
what
like,
for? Cares?
or just like I don't know. I mean, and I like Andrew Bashaga. I'm not even trying to pick on him. I would love to have him on. Andrew,
I think
if you're
most
out
of his
there,
story is
please let
actually
us know.
true.
I mean, but please scan the call. We have lines open. We see the
I actually did
chats.
reach out to him. I emailed him.
Did you?
Yeah, why not?
I
He's
would
been on every other radio thing.
That's not a bad idea. You know what I
I
mean?
told him, hey, I believe most of your story is true. I'd like you to explain some of the stuff that I don't understand and don't believe.
He's kind of been
That's simple.
MIA for the last couple of years, right?
Well, yeah, the Illuminati Society had him removed off
Are
of some
we
of his project.
are we going funny now?
No, I didn't laugh.
7
this
hours.
is- this
I'm
is
sorry, 7 hours.
of research. This is what happens. This is what happens. I am now fully bunny-eared into this damn rabbit hole. And I don't know how to get out.
Man, I sent you on a goose chase, not even realizing I forgot so much about it. You gotta look up this guy, man.
It's like, hey, take a little gander at this. It's like a damn cocaine habit or something. Like, oh, okay, I'll take a little snort. Let me see what's going on here. I'm like, oh man, this shit'll kill you. Don't watch this. Well, it didn't kill me that time. Let me try one more time. Let me just finish it off. I got the rest of it.
It's here.
We'll finish the rest
It's
of it
here,
off.
right? You know, it's those nihilistic
exactly-
mentalities that keep us
exactly,
coming back
ridiculous.
to the unknown, the
It's-
unprovable, the
Well, it's like
the
you know how to get to
splotchers
me
and such.
sci-fi mysterious stuff where I can't explain it. I was in once you told me what he was talking about. I was like, I'm in.
But
Let's
the
hear 'em
pictures are
out.
what bring us out.
And then the pictures, I'm like,
The
dude,
pictures are
that
what
could
bring us
be
out.
anything.
It's the
Everything
hardest
you
thing.
like. Yeah, you just generalized it and just made it horrible. And then he brings up other people like Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, and it's like, dude, stop it. You are really really losing some of my faith in your story. And like I was saying, his story is over detailed to the point where it's like, is this
It's
something
hard-
you were planning on saying for the rest of your life
Yeah,
and trying to ride this out and becoming famous? And yes, in fact, he was.
but I'll say this too, which is again to go with what you're saying. When I was 8 or 9 years old and my parents took me to Disneyland, I thought that every moment of that day would be engraved in my mind and I would be telling that story. How long was I there? 12 hours? Then I've got a 12-hour story to tell for the rest of my life.
Right.
And now I'm just like, hang on 1 second. Mom, did we go
Wait,
when
what?
I was 9?
Wait, what?
Did we go when I was 9? So that's the thing that
I got
makes it
sick on
hard.
what ride? Huh.
You know, like there's never been a point in my life where I realized like this is so important. I need to remember every,
Yeah, absolutely.
and then I made sure to with notes or any, like.
And the other problem I have with it too is like,
Again, I'm not a
he's
natural
not
born
talking-
time traveling Mars colonist. That's the other thing.
exactly.
I'm
The
not.
other thing I think is
that
kind
upper
of sketchy
echelon.
is he's not talking about a time period when cameras and paper and computers didn't exist. So it's like all of the data and facts
Yeah.
and stuff he has should be able to be corroborated. I forgot how you say that word all of a sudden.
Corroborated.
But yeah, I said it right?
It
Okay,
sounded
So
right, unless I heard it wrong.
It
I'll
should
watch
be
later.
essentially that. Yeah, it should be that you could just go grab some paperwork and a couple pictures of you and your pop, and you know what I mean. Like cameras were a big thing in the 70s.
I mean,
75 to 85. He was saying his dad died in 91. Like, bro, they had Polaroids back then. You trying to tell me you don't have any pictures of your pop or pictures of, and a whole nother thing too. I don't know if you heard him say he was a clone of his father, but Yeah, what?
Have you seen a picture of
Uh,
his father though? He does look eerily exactly
he
like
looks
his father.
very much
It's
so
it
like
it,
him.
it,
Yeah,
it
the
is
picture
really
that he
weird.
has, the only two pictures I've ever seen of him. I'm like,
Which
okay, yeah,
actually
you look
then,
alike, but so do me and my dad.
oh wait, so wait,
That's kind of how that works.
he's a clone of his
He
father.
was a clone of his father. That's why he took
Goodness, I
him
forgot so much
into
about this
the
guy. It's
yeah, he took him
amazing.
into the teleportation device.
Well, because if you
That's what he
mix up the
believes.
genetics, it'll just
You
make me
can't mix up.
younger.
Well, you can't mix genetics if your genetics are the same.
That's what I'm saying. So if you have to average it out, then like there's the numbers in the genetics that
Equals is
make you
equals, I guess.
younger. I don't know, man. You know what I mean?
This guy, right?
I mean,
But
again,
then I'm like, okay.
I'm relating
The
it
other
back
thing
to
I
Seth
never
Brundle.
understood, right? The other thing I never understood is he never talks about anybody else going partnered up through the machine again,
But at the same time, he also has
like an
that. Not
adult
well, I
with a
wasn't in
child. You know what I mean?
charge. It's not like I'm in charge. I'm not going to know everything.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
like you
like,
remember.
well, you're
what
right. You
pants
were
you wore.
14 when you left the program.
Yeah,
So
you remember what pants you wore. You remember what part of Mars you went to. You remember all that stuff. But you don't remember ever seeing two people go or remembering the partnership or the reasoning why they did any of that stuff. You just didn't ask. You just kept jumping back and forth to Mars. Come on, man. You're a kid. My kid asked me why the light switch goes on. Like, don't try to play that like naive. Like, I'm a good soldier at 14.
I
Get the hell
know,
out of
I
here.
know, man. It's just, it's. I want to believe him because I want
I want it to
I
be
want the
real.
technology that he says is real to be real. But also, here's the other thing. I think that we're also in an alternate timeline too, where none of that really even happened, which is something else that he talks about, right? I think that are we are we living now? Now, you and I and anyone listening to R9 Midnight on Wednesday, which you can listen to yesterday if you try hard. Anyway,
or is it?
Or
Yesterday?
was it? What was I going from that? Yeah, it's just too much, man. I don't know. It's a very
I think something
thought.
happened. Here's my thought on it. Here's my complete conjecture on this.
Yeah.
I think something happened with his father and with the program to the point where like something blew up or something really bad happened. Someone died trying to go do another jump, and they had to get rid of the program because they couldn't. It broke something to the point where they couldn't figure out how to do it again. And every time they sent someone, it kept killing people because that's what happens when it comes to like government stuff. If it's safe, they keep doing it.
Yeah.
When it becomes unsafe, they stop doing it. They're like, oh shit, hide it, put it under a rug. Don't tell anybody we ever did this.
Yeah.
That's how they do everything. You know what I mean? Like, get rid of all the plans of it. We never redact everything. We never did this. We're killing off so many people. Look at the atom bomb. Like, they haven't even tried to remake it. Why? You know what I mean? Like, because the technology nowadays, they would make it so much better than what it was. But it was killing so many people in such a horrible thing. It's like, never do that again. You know what I mean? Never, ever. We have Moab bombs that are 10 times bigger, but not the same kind of deadliness. You know what I mean? More finite, more precise, I guess you can call it.
I guess I'm thinking about.
I think that's what happened to the project is literally like, holy crap, something broke. We don't have the, Wasmajigger part for it.
Yeah.
And nobody knows how to fix it besides, what was his name?
Basiago. Andrew Basiago. But
yeah, father, besides Pops, you know what I mean? Pops took it with him to his grave, and we're not going to keep throwing bodies into this blender machine because
but at the same time, if it was Tesla technology that it was all built from, then
well, the principle of it.
Yeah, the principle of
not the actual machine, but the principle, the Tesla principle, I guess.
And so the idea to recreate is already was not him. So what he did is he basically the idea is that his father took the information Tesla left behind and built it to fruition because, as we all know, unfortunately, Tesla was screwed out of every dime, every dime. And I mean, literally, everything we're doing right now is, at least 50% because of him, and it's not more than 50% sometimes because someone else had to fucking sticker his work and say, DC, because
General Electric.
Yeah, because how else can we charge you? Anyway,
right? Let's monetize it. Exactly.
You don't make money by curing people. You make money creating addicts. Anyway, So
Exactly. Like curing the symptoms only.
yeah, it's just a cough, but I've been smoking for years. Here's some Dayquil.
Right?
Um,
Here, this will make that cough doesn't hurt no so much. I
now
still have the cough though.
I'm gonna get away from Andrew Bashago. I could just kind of like hang on him for a very
No,
long time.
I'll spin you off too. I got another one that's pretty
Okay,
funny.
are you going to
Not
Corey
funny, pretty
Good?
interesting.
Corey
Huh?
Good. There is someone Corey
No, I
Good.
like that one too.
Okay,
Yeah, bring that one up. I like that one too.
Corey
did see
Good
that one.
also has connections to Andrew Bashago. Corey Good, Goode, I believe, and he also has memories of Project Pegasus. He has memories of the missions he was on, and he's like 10 years later. Like
Yeah. Total different perspective of it though.
exactly, which is another one of these things where if you've heard them talking together, they seem to the way they talk to each other is like if you and me remember Fringe? Okay, remember the show Fringe when they learned how to
for
cross
sure.
to the other side, and it was just kind of like, yeah, there's another Cappy Elgin working at that bureau over there,
Right,
and we
right,
kind of
yeah.
gotta. It's kind of like you and me right here. Like, hang on, are you the Elgin that when we were 12 we did this, or did we not meet till we were 13?
Right? Which one are you?
Wait. Because don't get me wrong, you and me, we have great memories because when I was at your universe, so it's like we know each other. But the other Elgin that I grew up with first, was that when?
Would be slightly different. Right.
But then so casually chatting about it, just like, which one are you? Because no, that wasn't me. That was the other me who had dinner that night.
Yeah.
It's just so casual and calm that it makes me want to call bullshit, but I don't want to. It's like
because it's so casual.
There's something too blasé about
Think
it.
you'd be more shocked
You're
about
talking about something that should shake the very nature of all that we think is real, and it's just like no.
I guess it's all perspective though. Like it's not that crazy to him because he lived it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like how when I describe what I did my whole life, people are like, "How old are you?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I led a really, really wild life."
But
You know
you
what I
get
mean?
but you do have that moment where you go, oh yeah, I've lived a wild life. And if you had to tell the story, if you were telling the story every day, you'd start adjusting it ever so slightly. And when I say adjusting, I mean in your presentation, so as
right. In your
it would come
presentation,
across in a way
not so like laissez-faire, I guess.
exactly.
I mean,
Because
it
you
depends on
come
the person,
to the
though.
realization that your audience is not used to this, which is why they're here to listen.
I think that depends on the person. Like I look at myself like I'm a storyteller. I've always been. You know that.
Yeah.
You have to learn how when and when not to embellish for one, when and when not to act like this is just the normal because it's either a Star Wars or a Star Trek conversation. That's how I equate it. Either you just believe because I told you it, or I have to show you why you should believe.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's two ways in my mind, actually three ways in my mind, how to convince somebody what you're saying is real. You know what I mean?
But
and the third way is relating it to something that they understand. Like if he came to us, me and you, and was like, hey, this is going to be crazy, but this is the scientific-y kind of way that this happened. And, you know, I don't know if you guys believe, but this is the things that I can show you that might make you feel me and you'd be so like, torn. Oh shoot.
I'm so torn. I want to see it. I want to see, you know what
as
I mean?
Opposed to like, yeah, just take this for what it is because I'm telling you, you know, yada yada.
And again, when I say call bullshit, it's in that sense of like, again, how much I want it to be real, tempered with everything that I've been indoctrinated to believe the real world consists of in the year 2022. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, for my own self-preservation of if there is time travel, shit. I don't need to send my whole body. Just don't open this envelope. Just
right. Don't open this. Trust me.
Drop it in the mail one day. You know what I mean?
Just drop it off. Yeah.
Again,
already got a stamp.
Back to the Future 2. Is your name Marty? Anyway, Marty McFly. Right? Anyway, it's
so my guy, my other person. This dude's and you know me. I always try to look up like stuff that has like stuff you can go back and look up in like government files and stuff like that, where
Yeah.
you can like read about it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like in my mind, then it's like this is real because other people documented this, right?
Mhm.
So 1935, right? Way back, obviously, way back. UK British airplane pilot, biplane pilot to be exact, Sir Robert Victor Goddard. Did you hear about this guy?
Yes, you tell it though. I do know this one.
Crazy story where I was like, that dude went back in time, or he went forward in
future,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, he went forward in time
Forward.
and went back. Like, holy crap.
And
So
he supposedly got picture evidence of that as well, correct?
yeah, picture evidence, yeah.
Which is
So
weird.
he's flying over an airfield in Drim, Scotland,
Mhm.
and it's a well-known, you know, airfield that was like dilapidated, destroyed. Basically, they weren't using it anymore during the war. So he
Mhm.
was like flying over it, going out to do some mission, and then all of a sudden his plane gets caught in this vortex, starts spiraling to the ground, flying through these yellow clouds, which yellow clouds are super rare, I guess, out in that area. Spun towards the ground and flies to the opening. He regains consciousness before he hits the ground, takes pictures of Drim Airfield, and now there's all these like futuristic planes.
Yeah.
He's flying over, taking pictures, trying to get pictures of the people on the ground, but he can't because his plane's acting all funny. So he gets as many pictures that he can, and you know, some of them don't come out. He comes back, tells all his friends, "Hey, there's all these planes that are all yellow, and there's one plane at that time. They only had biplanes, by the way.
Mhm.
There's a plane that's a monoplane with a mono wing, and all the aircraft personnel were all wearing blue jumpsuits, which back then you wouldn't wear blue because
Yeah.
in England you'd stand out like a sore thumb on the ground. They'd shoot you basically. And everybody's like, shut up. There's no reason to ever paint an airplane yellow. That's insane. We would never do that. Like, that's such a terrible
Mhm.
idea. Come 1947, Drim Airfield Air Base reopens, revamped. They paint their airplanes yellow, start working on a monoplane. I forget the name of it. It was pretty cool. I think it was like Leviathan or something like that. A monoplane gets the only one of its
Yeah.
type is stationed there,
Mhm.
and everyone who works on the airbase is wearing blue.
Mhm. It
And
is.
he's alive. He was alive when it happened. He's like, look, these are my pictures. Like, what do you look?
what do you
These
say?
are pictures from 1935, and people are like, nah.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I just love that story because it's like he had picture evidence. He went back, he told his commanders, he told everybody. It's documented in his book, the book that he wrote, Flight Towards Reality. It's even
Flight
it
Toward
even
Reality, that's right.
yeah, it even
Yes.
got remade into a movie too, called The Night My Number Came Up. I'm gonna watch it.
Really?
Haven't seen it.
I've
Yeah,
not
old
heard of
movie.
that. Old
Really
movie,
old
huh?
movie. Yeah,
Really? The
really
night
old
my
movie,
number
black and white.
came up.
Yeah, The Night My Number Came Up. They kind of go over it, I guess, in the movie. So I'm like, I gotta watch that movie because I believe that this guy flew into some sort of vortex and went forward in time, and it scared the crap out of him.
Kind of makes me
And
think
he,
of the Langoliers. Stephen King's
yeah,
Langoliers.
kind of Langoliers. Yeah.
You know?
He came back. The crazy part, like, this is one of those stories like we were talking about, where he didn't come back like, oh, I'm gonna be rich. He came back like, oh my God, you got freaking out. Like, you guys got to believe me. You got to understand this is what happened. Like, just look at my pictures. Look, I did everything, and they're all like, nah.
Yeah.
And then, 15 years, 17 or 12 years later, after the war and everything, it's like, yeah, well, we're using that Air Force base for this and this and this now. Yeah, kind of like this picture.
Yeah.
Like, and people are still like, nah, dude, you probably just took that picture a couple weeks ago. Oh God, that would be so like disheartening. Like, your family would believe you. Your family would be like, holy crap, Pops was telling the truth. You know what I mean? Like, but
I've heard some
how many
people
naysayers
say,
back then?
what if he was just a guy on the planning committee?
Yeah. What if he was
You know,
on the
there's
Army Planning
that.
Committee and made it happen?
What did he do after? Did he end up helping to align
He had the
the
influence
future
to make it happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
But he wasn't.
uh,
If you look up his history, he wasn't. He actually got out of the Air Force or Royal Air Force, and they kind of
blackballed him and stuff, right?
made him out to be crazy.
Yeah.
And kicked him out. I mean, he just wasn't a pilot anymore. They gave him a desk job essentially.
To this day, we're just now having pilots and military men from around the world, men and women, come out and, I'll be honest, a lot of them are men because a lot of them are coming out from a time when they wouldn't let women in. You know what I mean? So it's like all these older men are coming
Slow
out.
hand-eye coordination has nothing to do with them being female. I'll say it. I don't care.
I don't know about that.
I'm not saying all of them. There's always what do you call it, to the rule?
Exception to a rule?
Exception to the rule. There's always an exception to the rule. But scientifically, faster hand-eye coordination.
Mm.
It's the same reason why there's like 0.01 tank commanders that are female.
I don't know. I always think about the interest factor. It's not like there's an equal distribution of interest in every field.
Well, it comes down to things that like you have to be able to perform this task at the highest level, like a pilot, anybody flying or using a giant craft. And I can tell you about the military. Those airplanes aren't like back in the day where it's like, oh, it's a $20,000 airplane. You're talking about a million, like $200 million aircraft.
Yeah,
the F-35. You know what I mean? Like these airplanes, they do not want you scraping a curb with it, tapping something. They don't want you messing up the paint. They want that thing perfect every time, and they want you to be able to perform at the highest level. That's why there are no, just okay pilots or just okay tank drivers or just okay, ship commanders. It doesn't exist. Either they're the best or they're not. They're not going to do the job. And that's what kind of sucks, because those jobs are like the most sought after. Like everybody wants to do it because it's such a amazing task. But it's like, if you can't perform at the highest level, you won't. Like those people are basically the tippity top athletes of their field. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not saying they're not by any means.
It's a weird field to be the best at it, but whatever.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Well, anyway, what was I saying? There's a lot of old people, old and new pilots, military, of all these walks of life. Again, as Elgin's saying, people who have to be tested, retested. There's no am I, and you're still allowed to do it.
There's no mediocre pilots. Yeah,
the people who are coming forward in our day finally are the creme de la creme of who we've been hoping to hear from when it comes to UFOs.
Most of them are wers, is what I call them. I was,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at like the one that I forget his name. He was a pilot and out at the Air Force Base at Nellis out here in Vegas. He was on Rogan. Did you see that episode of Joe Rogan?
No, I don't think I did.
He was talking about all the aliens and stuff and time travel. And he was like, yeah, happens a lot. We just don't talk about it because it's not our mission. We're up there with this, ridiculous expensive aircraft. We're not allowed to go and search at some flashy light. The gas is, their gas is AFAB gas, like airplane rocket fuel, essentially. Like that's not cheap. Like go fill up at Texaco gas. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're not allowed to go off course. They're supposed to fly a perfect laser line where they're supposed to go and land. And don't go faster or slower because you're going to use up too much gas or not use up enough. And now we have to calculate why we have extra. Like it's a whole money thing. Like don't do anything extra. Leave it alone. Who cares if they are aliens? That's not your job. You know what I mean? Like we'll send somebody over there in a truck. Oh, we missed it. Too bad. They'll be there again. Who cares?
That's kind of everyone's job, make it. For fuck's sake. I don't care if it's military or not.
It's the
military or not. If there's aliens, it's all of our job anyway.
Well, I think the way they look at it too is like, hey, if they can do it, they're not malicious. Because if they were going to be malicious, they would have been. You know what I mean? There ain't nothing stopping them. Time, they can travel through time. That was another thing he was talking about. Like their the way that they use propulsion and stuff like that. They must be using some sort of time dilation because they don't show any heat at all.
That's one thing that I did notice. Yeah, when they were doing,
which was pretty neat.
Yeah, like human light spectrum videos, and you don't see anything, and then you go into infrared, far infrared, and you don't see the ship, but you see the wake it leaves in its path.
Wake of it. Yeah.
So, and then you got to wonder what's creating a heat trail, but is absolute zero. Is disturbingly.
It's disturbing the
temperature.
Molecules. Yeah, it's disturbing the molecules enough to change the temperature, but not its actual object is changing temperature. What in the world?
What am I looking at
flying,
that isn't
in theory,
there but is
it's
affecting
flying.
the world around it?
Right. In theory, it's flying in between the molecules, right?
In between
time and space.
time and space, right? It's that
I
subspace.
I put up my questions like, I don't know, got to be time and space.
I mean, that's what they say, in Star Wars or even Star Trek. The warp speed is you are falling out of real world and you are falling into a subdimension, which apparently all points are much closer together because it is. So
there's no space.
There's no space.
There's no space because you're going point to point, which the points are all next to each other.
It's a concept that kind of takes for granted that we've already been folding space and doing it. And so,
right?
Come on, don't you?
Duh.
And we talked about this the other day. If we were to be able to, if we were going to be given from aliens, if there were benevolent benefactors to the human people, giving us instant teleportation. We've already gone over like how that would maybe like, what would be like the social impact of like that. It's like, well, transportation's gone, so everything's done.
Devastating. Devastating. Yeah.
Or liberating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, depending upon how we use it, which we never use it for good.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Every time
every time.
Do we?
I can split the atom. I can now create water. Nah, let's blow something up.
Yeah. Don't you know we're fighting a war? But
that's exactly how I look at it. Like, hey, I now know how to split the atom. We might be able to figure out how to create water for everyone. And then on the other guy, on the shoulder of the other guy, like, dude, you could blow a bunch of shit up with that.
Right? Yeah. And of course, and something about humans, no matter how old or in charge you get, the proof is you always pay more attention to, in the schoolyard, fight.
Yeah. Who walks away and goes, ooh, I don't want no part of that.
Yeah, it's like you come home from school and dad's like, oh, what happened to school today? He's expecting, in science class, we learned about mitochondria. And it was like there was a fight between second and third.
Sweet fight, yeah.
And this guy, he like came out, he took a book and hit the guy in the head. Oh man, did you learn anything in school? I learned not to fight with that kid.
I don't remember, but that guy really beat him up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I learned which teacher can pull you off another student the fastest. Anyway, I mean, yeah.
I mean, speaking of like time travel stuff with that too, like when I was a kid, like I was saying in the beginning of the episode, I used to like lay in my bed and I would like think of stuff I want to do or things that are going on in my life at the time. And then like I would kind of fall asleep and then wake up and have like a dream about like what was going to happen, right? Whatever the case might be. Like, oh man, I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna play basketball, have a good time, and I'm gonna hit the game-winning shot. You know what I mean? And then it would be like I would go to school like 2 months. I would have forgot about it. This is always the way it happened to me, and this is why I believe it. This is why I feel like I'm that guy too. Sometimes I'm like I would go to school, I would be playing basketball, I would hit the game-winning shot, and be like, "Oh my god, this
I'm
is
a
the
prophet.
Dream! Like this is a dream. I traveled in time." You know what I mean? I used to make the joke with my brother when we used to live together in the same room. I'd be like, man, it's gonna rain tomorrow. And he always like, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna rain, and then it would rain. And he'd be like, and I'm like, dude, I can control the weather or see into the future. I just know it.
Yeah. It's one or the other.
It would be the weirdest thing that it just kept happening like a lot to the point where I started to believe like I could control the weather. And then it scared me because like my dad was, our family, our Christian bringing up and all our Christian upbringing. It was like, I went and told my dad one time, like, hey, I think I can control the weather or I'm traveling in time. I'm not sure which it is. And he was like, well, if you are, like, that's not good, son. And then
really? That's it?
I was dead scared. No, I mean, I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of it, but it was kind of like scared the crap out of me where I'm like, oh my God, these powers I have.
Wow.
It's funny. Even though I didn't have powers, literally was just observant as a kid and was like, oh, it's pretty humid out today. probably could rain. Like I just use all my like observation to like learn stuff and didn't realize it. And then it's like,
I
oh God, I'm using my powers for evil.
I
I'm
remember
scaring my brother with it.
I would lay in bed. I would like look over at the clock, and then like I would close my eyes and I'd open them really quick, and the time would be different. But what I think happened is I went to sleep and then I woke up and I saw a different number, and I think I might be slightly mixy up with like the letters or numbers. See, and then so I think it might have been 2 o'clock, but I thought it was 5. And then I closed my eyes and slept for 3 hours, and I woke up and it was actually 5, but I thought it was 2. So
It's happened to me before too, where I was like, oh my God, I just went to sleep, wake up, and it's the next day. I'm like, oh no, you just slept 12 hours, stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
Sleeping a
Actually, I
solid
just slept
12
hours.
hours
Holy
is the
crap.
worst thing you can do, depending on the time of year, because the light in the sky shining through your window will not be any different than 12 hours ago.
It was dark at 5, and now it's dark at 5 again.
So you can get
You
12
fell
hours of
asleep
sleep.
at 5.
Yeah. There's so many times
You've been up all night.
you feel like I must have been up all night. I got the worst night's sleep, and then you walk in the living room, everyone's like, "Man, you've been dead to the world for 12 hours."
What day? What time exactly?
And that's kind of like time travel, or at least it feels like you got popped into a world you don't belong in. You know,
I mean, I look at it like that, like small things like that. I guess
small things
I mean,
like that.
Small things like
is
that,
that good
like
enough
a
for you
bit
for
of-
time travel?
It really is, man. I think of it like
I want to.
it's stupid.
I need a DeLorean.
It's got to be so simple to me. It's got to be able to be done simply before it can be done grand. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but we're already
Like-
moving forward. Like here's the thing. I think that we're going to be able to make ourselves leap forward in time. I think that we could do something to me right now, and yeah, I might disappear from the world starting in 2022, but in 3022, you know what I mean? Philip J. Fry.
Yeah, I look at it like this. Like there was this good article I read when I was doing the research for this. So this I forget the kind of scientist he was. A physicist, that's what he was saying. He's a physical science teacher and a professor at USC, I think it is, or Connecticut, one of the two. But he basically was saying, we always think of time and space being the same thing, and it's two different things. Like we were saying before, there's time, space, there's time, you know what I mean? And there's measurement of time. So if you're in a race with somebody, right, and they're faster and fitter than you, and they run in front of you and get to the finish line before you, are they in the future or are they in the same timeline as you?
This is a bad analogy, is what I think, unfortunately. I think that it's not exactly. I think that I don't really like this analogy. Personally, I don't see it as an analogy. Go on and
answer the question. Go on and answer the question. Either way, let's see what your thought is on it.
Well, no, it's relativity. Because it comes back down to the relativity. It's the whole idea. If I'm sitting on a train that is moving at the speed of light, and I travel from the caboose to the front engine, am I traveling faster than the speed of light because I am moving from the back of the train to the front of the train? Now, obviously, this is a thought experiment. But the answer is no. I am traveling as fast as my feet can walk. The train, the surrounding, and again, because that applies to us here, even on this planet, we're not just spinning in a circle. We're going through a corkscrew all the way. Like the whole of the universe is also moving. If we were to do time travel, it wouldn't just be like, we got to make sure to be in Cleveland on the 16th. It's like, by the way,
that's the same notion.
The Earth was in a different position. You got to be in a whole different.
But all these things are exactly to what his point is.
Oh, okay.
No, it's exactly what his point is. Like you're saying about on the train. Like if you're walking backwards on the train, are you walking back in time, or are you walking backwards in relation to time? Right. So the theory is it depends on the way that you're measuring it. Okay. So in time space, yes, you're moving in the future. If everything is moving in the same direction, that person went into the future of time space that you were both moving in, right? Okay. In time, no, he didn't. Yeah, in time, the measurement of time, that's what they call time. The measurement of time, no, he didn't go into the future because the future was currently happening with you the whole time. You were still moving forward in his same future, right? So he didn't
normal linear progression.
He didn't advance any faster in the length of time that you were there. But in the theory of space time, yes, he had to have moved into the future because you were going to the same direction, right? So in that regards, yes, he time traveled.
But in that
That's how
right, we
simple.
all
In
always
that
are.
regards, we
That's the
are
common
always
denominator that falls off when I'm
exactly.
thinking, though, because I'm
Yeah,
time
and that's
traveling
what I
right
like
now,
about that. I
every
was like, damn,
second, right
that's
now.
yeah,
You know,
everyone's moving forward. Everyone is moving in the same direction because we're all on the same stupid planet. So if
aka
that's the
train.
right train, yeah, train exactly. So if you're all moving forward, no matter which direction you go, besides your physical movement, time, space, yes, you're going to move forward every little bit, faster than the next person because you're getting older than the next person faster, or less faster when it comes to like kids. You know what I mean? So yes, in time space, you are advancing. You are traveling into the future. There isn't right now any way to measurably go the opposite way.
Yeah, that's
Measurably
that's kind of what I
is
was.
the only way that they look at it because
They found out that the slowing, though, the
you can
slowing.
slow your pace, but you can't reverse. Is
Yes,
essentially it.
and
That's
that's
only
what I
time
was.
space,
That
which
that
I love. I love that theory just because it makes me believe, yeah, you are moving to some degree through future, through time space. You know what I mean? To some degree,
I mean,
and
we always are, right? Yeah.
because of advancement in medical science and all that other stuff, like we were just saying, eventually we will possibly be able to slow our advancement in time space to the point where we live longer because I mean look at now. We technically already have. So if you look at it like that, people back in, the 1800s, 1700s were dying at 30 from catching a flu,
Hmm.
right? Now we live to be 80, 90, 100. I mean, 50 years ago, pretty much everybody lived to be older than that, right? Everybody was like 80s, 90s because food was better.
Hmm.
And now we have crap food, so we're dying off faster. Again, we kind of hit the fast forward button on accident. But
Yeah.
I think now we're in that age too, again, of like healthy and like you got to eat healthy, you got to do right by yourself, and watch what you eat. Whereas before we didn't have that, we had an opulence of you could eat whatever the heck you want because we have so much of it. Now it's like, dude, we don't have that much, and what we do have isn't that good. Let's find the best stuff to eat. You know what I mean? So let's slow down our time progression. Let's slow down how we are moving through time, space, and time measurement
And that's
to make it faster. To get to a longer future.
there.
In regards, we're using our travel in the past, our information from the past to make our future longer.
What was that Batman villain? Was his name the Chess Man? I can't remember, but he also affected time, and I can't not
Ooh, I don't
remember.
remember.
So there was the Batman.
I'll look it up.
Now he created the it was basically a time dilation field. I don't remember what he called it, but he put it on Batman's Batmobile. This is the animated series. He put like the device on Batman's car, and Batman slowed down in time. So he activated it, and from the freeway, all of a sudden, Batman and Robin are like stuck in time, and cars are driving past them at the speed of light. And if a car hits them, which everyone else is going so fast, nobody sees the fucking Batmobile, right? Because it's the whole relativity and perspective as well. Everyone's traveling so fast that like this stationary thing, it was a weird thing. It was like an out of phase. But if somebody hits us, it'll be a nuclear explosion that might destroy the Earth, kind of a thing. Like that kind of a. But it was time dilation. He was using it. He would make the field on a seed, and it would turn to a flower and die in a half second. Or he would take an apple, take a bite, and he'd put it in the field to stop it, so that 17 years later he could finish that apple whenever he wants. So he would create an energy field that within this area it would be an effect of time speed up, time slow down, but
Clock
never
King?
what?
Clock King?
Clock King. What did I think he was called? Chessman?
Yeah, but
Clock
he
King.
has a clock on his face.
Yeah. Why was I thinking Chessman? Anyway. But yeah,
partnered up with the Riddler in the animated series.
yes, and see that one there, that was always something that made sense to me. I think that if we are able to do things with slowing down time, then I think that we could hold things in stasis. I think that holding things in a stasis to, Buck Rogers in the 25th century, you know what I mean? Again, it's the whole, if I'm sick, put me to sleep and wake me up in a couple hundred years, when it's just like, we call that
freeze
a
me.
boo-boo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, whoopsies. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when everything is all fixed, wake me up and everything. Of course, what's also funny is like, what are you gonna do when you get there? Nobody fucking wants you there. You don't know how to live in our world.
Well,
you
the funny,
you
I was gonna say,
caveman.
the funny thing is,
They don't want
yeah,
me there. I'm a
you come back,
caveman now.
You already have enough time trying to advance 10 years using your new stupid phone.
Yeah,
Imagine trying to come back 500 years into the future. You'd be a retard.
absolutely.
People would be like, what the heck is wrong with you? You don't know how to, you can't phase shift in between things? Oh my gosh. This
Yeah.
archaic caveman. What is wrong with him?
Dude, how did they even
be
figure out
frustrating.
how to
be
get
really
to our
frustrating.
time? They use their mouths to talk. What's wrong with them?
Exactly. Why is he
Uh,
using his mouth? Oh God.
Then you got to
Archaic.
use your hands. It's like a baby's toy.
It's
Again,
like a baby. Right.
gotta do the movie quotes. And Back to the Future is definitely the properest of quotes for this episode. You know what I mean? One thing I did hear on Rogan, actually, you brought up Rogan earlier. When time travel comes up on his show in the last couple years, when I've heard him on and off, he mentioned something about someone who came up with an idea of the time travel. It's basically a stationary device. Back to movies. Sorry, I guess we're going to have to go to Austin Powers this time. Think of a stationary device that the only reason you can travel in time, like if I invented the time machine right now, think of it like a box you walk in and you can step out of. But you cannot step out of the box before it was invented. So if I invent the box today,
Gotcha. Okay.
then that means that at any point in time in the future, anyone can step forward. So of course that means if it works, the moment you say, all right guys, let's see if it works, flip the switch, and then just billions of people coming through to be like, is the air clean? Anyway.
Right. Wasn't there a movie too? I think it was called The Box that had something to do with that too.
Which one? It was called the what?
It was like I think it was called The Box. Like man, Cameron Diaz, I believe, was in it, where like this guy came walking up to the house and like half of his face was like melted away, and he had this box and he's like, if you push the button, someone you know will die.
Oh, I didn't see
Remember
that movie. Yeah,
Oh,
Frank
okay.
Langella. Frank Langella was that man. I know the actor who was in it.
I'm gonna look it up.
I
Vamp for a
forgot.
second.
It's Frank Langella. I promise you. I did not see that movie. Look it up. Just type Frank Langella. I dare. That'll pop up. Frank.
I am. I'm looking it up.
You like
yeah.
how I didn't
I'm
spell
looking up his
Langella?
name. Yeah, I was like he gave you the easy one. What the heck?
Anyway, no, I didn't see that one. That one's very interesting. Man, a lot of movies always kind of are a really good way, hopefully, for us to try to encapsulate some of the ideas that we've gone over and learned in the past week, and
I completely undersold myself. It's literally The Box.
it's literally called The
It
Box.
is The Box, yeah.
The Box.
With Cameron Diaz and Frank Langella.
Yeah, I told
And,
you. And
James Marsden too.
James Marsden. That's right.
It's a good movie. It's actually kind of a plot twist. You're like, what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
I'll have to
these-
check it out.
Alien time travelers? What the heck?
Well, that's pretty interesting.
You
Alien
watch it
time
on
travel
YouTube
thing.
for
What about that movie,
$2.99?
The Knowing? The Knowing, right? The Nick Cage movie.
Oh yeah,
That
I
one was
forgot about that
interesting,
one.
right? And it also had some
Yeah.
kind of like weird biblical
Yeah,
thing to it as well, but also not quite biblical. Actually, kind of reminded me of the
I was
Book
like,
of Enoch. Kind of the
kinda
Book of
sorta,
Enoch.
yeah.
It was very
Righty,
apocryphal.
sweaty.
I like that. But anyway, you know what I mean? What can I say? It was like the wheels within wheels and the machines, and like they were men kind of a thing, but they were aliens, but we'll call them angels, and wheels within wheels. You know what I mean? Like, it was a very
yeah.
interesting movie. And again, precognition, and in a way I feel like almost time travel, because didn't the kids become Adam and Eve at the end? Anyway, so
Did they? Is that what that was?
at
I'd
least
have to rewatch that one, man. Holy crap.
I think it was a concept of like panspermia, where we had some kind of like a caretaker
Oh, okay,
species
okay.
that would come and like,
Gotcha.
okay, well, they're at the point in development where the fruit's ripe. It's time to take some seed and
Yeah, get some of these
expand
batteries
the
here.
farm. Yeah, you know, you got to take some seed, you got to put it on another planet, and you know. But of course,
I actually, funny enough, I'm sorry, I don't mean to throw you off. I found my old movie script, the one.
oh, I
you
remember
brought that up,
that
and maybe,
one. I
yeah,
remember
I
that.
found it. I'm like, oh my god, I got to rewrite this thing.
Very cool. Yeah,
We'll
it's
make
very
Kiara
good.
read it.
I think I remember. Did I read that? I think I read it. Like maybe. Did you have me read it when we were living together?
You read part of it. I did a lot more since
Okay.
you read it.
I'm definitely interested to look into that more. Yeah, we do relate a
That's
lot of
time
things to
travel in it
movies.
too, by the way.
Oh, I remember. I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember
had
a
good
boat
time
and time
travel,
travel. Something about a storm. Again, maybe a vortex in the sky. Again, a lot of these things that are vortexy. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. The movie that I'm being reminded of from the previous comment was it called Millennium Man with Chris
Oh, I'm gonna look it
Christopherson.
up.
Chris Christopherson. No, it was just called Millennium. And it had nothing to do with the X-Files spin-off TV series Millennium.
Oh, the one with the plane on it?
The
Yeah, I saw
plane,
this one.
yes, where
Yeah,
the
yeah,
future
yeah.
people were coming back in time. They were abducting
one,
all
yeah.
the people off of a flight. The flight that now they're from the future.
Again, spoiler alert. Get used to it.
Again, yeah, spoiler alert.
1989. You guys should have watched it by now.
If you haven't,
I
anyway.
was 5, and I'm sure my dad made me watch it. I remember it being kind of scary too, actually.
It was kind of scary. I mean, you know, he basically, people from the future come back and say, oh, hey, we kidnapped all of you people because, well, history says you died, so we're going to just take you from that point, not let you die.
Take your spot.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you're just going to go like 10,000 years in the future after hopefully nuclear war isn't ravaging our planet anymore. You're going to start over. We're just going to name you all Adam and Eves. And that was the whole concept. But it was told from the perspective of like an air flight control like investigator, and he's trying to figure out why none of this, like this crash doesn't make sense. And then he's being, you know, then all of a sudden you get pulled into the future and all this weird stuff. And very interesting, you know, like the girl he loves dies, but then she's there and she's not. Time travel. You know?
Time travel. Enjoy. Yeah.
Oh, man. It is so many movies with time travel, man. You know, and they each kind of show like the different facets that other scientists or theorists or, you know, claimants at the very least will say this is how it works. This is the way it goes about. And in a lot of these movies, you know, even Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Free Jack with Wesley Snipes?
Yeah, and Time Cop. I forgot about those.
Time Cop, yeah.
Timescape, that was a good one too.
Time Cop, what was that? Time Cop is where Ron Silver like was laughing because he was a jerk and he was hanging out with himself in the future, but they couldn't touch. But then at the end they touched,
I was thinking of
right?
The Van Damme one.
Yeah, Van Damme.
That wasn't Van Damme. Oh yeah.
Wasn't that?
You're right.
Because it's like you can't, because he was traveling in time and hanging out with himself from another timeline, but two objects of the same mass, whatever, cannot occupy the same space. So like as they were hanging out, and one guy was like, "That's a good one," taps him on the shoulder, and then they merge into like a mush body thing that's like, time fuck ups.
Yep.
But wouldn't that mean that the older one never did any of the bad stuff? So it makes the whole
never
movie not happen? Anyway, I don't know.
That brings up another. I mean, since we're listing off movies, I'd be remiss if we didn't bring up Bill and Ted's.
It's got to be one of my all-time favorite movies, hands down.
It's just fun for fun.
It is.
On movies, like on time travel movies. It's like, yeah, we're not explaining nothing. It's just what we do. Deal with it. It's just fun. It's good for you to learn this way.
This is not a conspiracy theory. I'm just going to go out and put this as solid fact that no one will ever justify millions of dollars taken from me when I say it. Bill and Ted is the most important movie of our fucking world. It launched Keanu Reeves' career. All right? That I shouldn't even have to give any more examples. Yes, he was working before, but if it weren't for Ted Theodore Logan, then would we all, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's Jesus, at least in the movies.
At least in a movie.
At least in the movies. Man,
Right?
you
Don't
seen
forget Primer.
Primer?
That was a good one. And Interstellar. I actually enjoyed Interstellar.
Interstellar was a good one too. Wow, I
And
forgot.
12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys. Oh man, Terry Gilliam, one of my all-time favorite movie makers, filmmakers. 12 Monkeys is phenomenal, and also horrible for that self-fulfilling prophecy. And again, talking about Andrew Basiago. Sorry to go full circle with this, but you see
Right, and we're
how
back.
now 12 Monkeys. I want to talk to Andrew Basiago about 12 Monkeys. Now, the child who was Bruce Willis, he didn't remember the exact
Couldn't.
face. So he
Yeah.
was using his own memory, also not even realizing he was at ground zero at the time. So it's like
Right.
when the most important thing happens to you as a child, you don't get it.
Especially as a child.
That's the hard part.
Especially as a child.
And the thing that sold 12 Monkeys so much was because as you see this guy traveling, and it's just like, well, is he just crazy?
Right? Is he
Or
nuts or not?
Is he just nuts? And then, and then you see, she pulls out the picture and she's like, what? She sees the picture from like the Civil War, and there he fucking is. It's like, and she has her mental breakdown. She's the doctor. And it's like, no! I mean, but even him the whole time, he keeps trying to be like, not just because of the time thing, but like the memories that he does have, he keeps seeing different faces as the man with the red hair, right? He keeps seeing the different faces of all the people. First he sees as Brad Pitt. He even saw it as himself at one point. He didn't even know it was getting all mixed up. Oh, man. But Andrew Basiago remembers absolutely every moment of every second of every thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah, guy's got it written down on the back of his hand since 1969. Get out of here, man. Get out of here. That's too much to remember. You are probably the best example of this. You remember things that I'm like, what?
I don't know why.
Then I have to look them up and I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually right. Yep, that happened that way, or we did do that. That's
but then
crazy.
I forget things too, like the most important things in the world.
Exactly. I'm like, I
oh,
also remember you forgetting your keys or your
mom's
wallet.
birthday. You're at her party, dude. You want to say happy birthday? It's like, it's like.
But this dude remembers 1969 and he remembers Gettysburg and talking to a cobbler to get some shoes made. I'm like, bro, stop it. Your memory is not that tight. It just can't be. You like, and me and Isaac, my boss, or one of my bosses, we were talking about this today. I'm like, I cannot take you seriously if it looks like you don't comb your hair. So, with that being said, it's like, you cannot tell me the name of the cobbler and you tied your tie wrong today. That's like that. It's like, no, you are not some idiot savant. He's a lawyer, right?
He is a lawyer too. Now that's something else I don't think we mentioned before. He is actually a practicing lawyer, correct?
Yeah.
At the very least, he's not been disbarred.
Everything.
Past
bar. I mean, why? He hasn't done anything against the bar. I mean, you can be crazy and pass the bar. It doesn't mean you're going to get hired. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's the only person who could file suit for libel is the government.
And they're not going to do that because
to acknowledge him one way or the other is
they're admitting it either way.
Like
they can't be like you're defaming or you're saying too much. Either way, they can't say anything. Let him sound crazy. The best way to make someone sound crazy is
let
to
him
not
keep talking.
say anything. Let him talk.
Let them talk.
Let him spill the beans. That's a funny thing. I think about like his website and his project. He's like, I'm a truth sayer and I'm out to promote the truth. And it's all about like, trying to make it sound like I'm the truth guy. I'm truth. It's like, dude, the more you say that, the less it is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, definitely.
Like you have to learn that.
I would say any person or group who claims to have the truth probably, most likely, absolutely doesn't. The truth is a pursuit.
I mean,
it's not something you can ever really have. That's what I think.
The truth is in your heart, man, and that's how I look at it. Like,
and no two hearts are the same.
Exactly.
It's subjective, not an objective.
It's subjective. Exactly.
Yes.
Subjective. It's what you believe. So it's not necessarily something to be real or something to be told,
I never care about truth. Not to say I'm a liar. I just don't care about people's idea of truth. I want to know facts.
Even facts to me are not facts most of the time. Like, it's still a belief thing, man. Like
I mean,
give me an example of how a fact is a fact. I'll
This
disprove it.
and this equals this, right?
Not necessarily.
Because the length of my fingers are different.
Well, that's a length of measurement. You're saying 2 of something has to equal 4. That means that this is those two things are equal to this. Not necessarily.
But as far as individual units is what we are counting.
I mean, if you're counting units,
if I was going to write the problem out and I
same?
said Bob had 5 apples and his friend had 3 apples. Now, are we going to argue about the apples, or can we just say maybe they're oranges or bananas? That's not the issue. Do you see what I mean? Like
I see what you're saying,
2 plus 2 is always 2. But if you want to talk about 2 of what, then that's not what we're talking about.
It has to be. You have to be equal units of something. That pertains to perception. That's what I'm trying to say. So your 2 might not be equal to the same 2 I think. You know what I'm saying? Like that to me makes it not factual. Makes it not a thing. Your thinking is different than mine when it comes to that sort of stuff. Like 2, the number 2 is not exact perfect science to me. 2 is something that someone came up with to describe more than 1.
I'll admit that absolutely everything about our world is an abstract of.
It's a concept.
It's an abstract analog that we've brought into the physical world that also at the same time represents some sort of, I don't know if you want to call it a rule or a law or just the way physics works. But
it's not a fact. It's just something that you
couldn't get it to work if it didn't rely on it, right?
No, not necessarily. I mean, before math, they used other things, right?
Like, so then if you want 5 apples and I give you a banana and tell you to shut up and accept it.
No, what if a banana was more important to me?
I don't care though anymore. You see, like, you know, you're saying that because that's what it is. That's what you got.
Don't care. That's your perception.
Because you got
that's not my perception.
No, not that I don't care. It's like because you already said that that's not the equal. I was like, but now, but if I'm telling you that this is equal, then it's never.
If you're like this equal, and I'm like, no, it's not. Then we don't make the trade.
But then everything is always subjective. Everything is always subjective anyway.
That's my whole point. That's my whole point. Everything is completely subjective. So to be like, oh,
when I said I don't care anymore, it's because I was thinking of the way. I'm sorry. I didn't like the way I said it. I don't like the way I said it.
I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. I was always love. You know how that
I know. I just don't like the way I said it. It's all right. Go on.
No, but that's what I mean by whole. Like everything is subjective. That's why facts to me aren't like held in stone facts, because you might say today this is blue, and for my perspective of it, it's not exactly blue.
For the record, though, anyone listening,
besides that,
okay,
that was a whole that's a whole enhanced goddamn it moment.
You knew I was going to do it.
Oh man!
No,
okay, go for it.
I don't believe in the term colorblind at all, but
color deficient. Thank you.
And even deficient, it sounds like a negative word. I would just like to say that the rods and cones in my eyes work differently than the rods and cones in Elgin's eyes, and that's all. And it allows us to see the world in a different way. I've never noticed it to hinder either one of us to see things literally that differently, but yeah, I think if you're going to make the example with color, my friend,
the best example here. I know that was a stupid one. I'm sorry.
Like no,
I'm sorry.
We don't even see colors the same way you and me, man.
Yeah, we can't see it. Okay, so for instance, I'll give you another one. Actually, someone brought this to my attention too. So like sweet, right? How would you describe sweet to someone else that maybe
a good one? That's good,
right?
Yes.
So like if you both had a spoonful of sugar or honey in your mouth,
go down. Sorry.
It would taste different to you because the way that everyone's mouth subjectively, it's sweet, yes, but is it semi-sweet? Is it bittersweet? Is it sweet with hints of something or something not? Like that, it's sweet is the fact, right? That we would say, but is it though?
The fact is that there is a measurable content of sugar inside of as an ingredient.
The ingredients are the fact that all those ingredients are in it, right?
A fact. The ingredients are a fact,
right?
But
the measurement of the ingredients are wrong anyway, because we don't know how to measure that. So it's still a perceptional thing that we have measured these ingredients that equal this, right?
Damn it, because now I want to say cooking is always just so purposely subjective. It's a bad example. I'm sorry.
It is.
It's just, but everything in our world.
It's the same thing. I mean? Everything is like that.
You know, there's always analogs. You know, I'm gonna be old for a minute. There's AT&T, and then there's MCI. Oh wow.
MCI, what the?
Bro,
yeah,
I know, right? You
Holy
know,
crap.
remember that? You know, don't. It's all right. I'm a Pac Bell guy myself.
I'm more of a singular kind of dude, but that's all right.
Oh, hey, you know, reabsorbed into AT&T.
They did.
That's right. I've been with them forever. Anyway,
That's when I had a Nokia. Man, that thing was
what was that, 3390 or the 8900? Which one did you
I had
have?
a 33. I had a 3390.
3390. That's right.
Yeah, that phone took us into the future. Will still take us into the future. That thing is no joke, man.
If anyone ever might have had
Drop
a time
it in the
machine,
water and it still runs. Come on.
My friend here, when we were kids and everyone had the same Nokia phone, Elgin made sure his was better.
Mine's different. Yeah, mine's a little different and better.
You know,
I went to Japan and bought better stuff for it.
it was the weirdest stuff. I'm like, how did you get all these upgrades? Who the hell makes these upgrades? He was like, first you got to lift up this thing, you got to resolder it back down. Now look, programmable ARGB. In like 2004, exactly. This guy had ARGB on a Nokia. I was like, what are you doing?
Remember I had the slider phone for it and everybody's like, where in the hell did you get that?
Oh, yeah.
It was bright yellow. I love that thing. It was so cool.
I remember that clear case you had when you really showing off
all
the
lights.
Damn,
yeah, that
dude. It was an eyesore. I hated having you in my car when I was driving at night.
You'd go blind if I got a phone call.
Horrible. Oh.
You could see it through my pants. I remember that. Like, damn, my phone's ringing.
Yeah, everyone knew. Wow, that's hilarious.
That was awesome. That's funny, man.
You know, if time travel really exists, if ever it exists, I'm going to start this one over, and hopefully one day I can just come back and just do it all over. But then that would not mean that I never did it, so why would I go?
Well, you're doing it now. That's why you're doing it.
Paradoxical. So, if ever there is a time when a device allows people to traverse time at
any length,
at their own speed, at their own desire, to their own desire, if you can be at any point in space or time by whatever means, then if it's in my lifetime, I will appear to myself right here and right now, and I will give myself the device.
Wait for it. Wait for it. I think that's how this works. Wait for it.
I guess you can't. I'm holding my hand out to the imaginary me from the future who's literally so
you better hope that
damn
device is small, man.
late. I mean, I don't imagine it's bigger.
You just woke up. You're late to your own time travel.
Late to my own time travel. Bro. But here's the thing.
That would be such a cappy thing.
Like, here's the thing. I know that at the very least,
schedule and you're still late to it, but you can go back and do it.
Bro, I have so many hooks by the front door. It's where everything hangs, so I don't forget anything on the way out the door. Do you know where everything is when I finally get where I'm going and I need the things on the hook? They go, all right, that'll be. And I'll go, oh, it's on the hook.
It's on the hook.
I'll be right back. And for some reason, here's my favorite excuse, which is why I need time travel. Here's my favorite excuse, as if it helps. But I know where it is.
Right, but I know where I left it. That's the important part.
And I know
it's
where
not
it
lost.
is, though. It's not lost. It's just not where it's supposed to be.
You're misplaced, not lost.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, God, that's
time travel
funny.
just doesn't exist in my lifetime, or I wasn't able to get a hold of it. That's all I know. As far as time travel,
right? Or or you weren't allowed to.
I
play
either
with it.
failed in my attempt to steal the technology and come back and give it to my younger self. It
like
never happened in my lifetime. So at no point in my lifetime do I have the opportunity to even hope to come back.
Wield it or mess with it.
Or this is all a simulation, which we're already proving anyway.
I refuse to believe that.
I'm just going to hit F3 and see which y-axis I'm at. Anyway.
Right, let me check my axis.
Yeah. Yikes. Well, I think that's... I could probably go on for so long. There are so many other people. I mean, there's John Teeter. We didn't even talk about John Teeter.
Yeah, I didn't look into him that much.
I think it was I think it was those brothers. If you look into it, I think it was the brothers. Anyway, yeah, I think when it comes to time travel,
to look up.
Yeah, everyone look up John Teeter, and also look up time travel. Look up time travel, and if you if you can figure
Pegasus
out how to make it
Project.
work,
.net.
you help me out. I wouldn't mind.
Someone else has to watch that 7-hour video.
Oh
So
yeah,
I-
please, everyone,
It's like
go
the
to
Ring.
the.
That's what I just thought of. Damn it. It's like the Ring, man. Someone else has to watch it so I don't die from it, right? Isn't that how that works?
Oh wait, do you have to make someone else watch it? No. That
No, wait,
was
what movie
It
was
Follows.
that?
That was It Follows.
Follows, yeah,
it was
It
It Follows. Yeah, it was the latest in the "it's bad to be promiscuous" movies. So yeah, if you're out hooking up, then oh no, you thought STDs were bad. There's a ghost after you, and the only way to get rid of the ghost is to fuck someone else and give it to them. It's a ghost STD. It's a it's a STG.
Sexually transmitted
Transmitted ghost, right? But here's the best part: when the ghost kills that next person, right? Then now we're back to Final Destination rules. Well, now you're the next in line, though. So what
you're next, yeah.
So the whole movie both is anti-promiscuity, and the only way to save yourself is to fuck. I mean, just don't stop. Find someone, tell them your name is what their favorite name is, and beg them to do it. It's like, you know what? I think the whole nice guy, the whole incel thing, like the whole movement of like, I'm a nice guy, but I call her bad names, and like all that stuff on the internet. That's just a bunch of people who are just so desperate to get rid of their STG. They got that STG ghost following them, and they're just
we cracked the code tonight, everybody.
What if, and you know what? What if there really are no
I feel bad
incels?
for 'em.
It's just people scared for their lives.
I'm trying to get rid of it, man.
What if they're just afraid? What if they just don't want to die?
Save a friend, man. Screw somebody.
Red light districts, homie. Come on,
yeah,
that movie is so quick.
Could save a life tomorrow.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, the sex you have today could save some lives tomorrow. Right? But of course, now I'm thinking about like a whole organization of like, yeah, come on. Why don't you just keep making kids and then donate your stem cells here? Because that way we're making the future great.
No. See, all those kids become what they call it, star babies and Basiago Pegasus children, so it's fine.
But
no worries.
But do they also go into my facial moisturizer? Because I'm trying to get rid of these crow's feet.
How else do you get perfect skin besides using, child's energy?
I mean,
you can only get that from the freshest of children. So
you know what I mean. I'm just saying the adrenochrome in the last few generations is dwindling. We got to solve it.
Plus, bathing in the blood of babies is looked down on nowadays. And it's just not sanitary. You have to have a cold bath, yada, yada. Not that I've looked it up or anything like that, but, you know it's problematic.
It's 2022. Every baby has to get tested before I can mix it into the bathtub. Anyway, so...
Hey, that's pretty nice of them if you think about it.
It's again back to the incel joke. Sorry, sorry for picking on the incels all of a sudden, but I like to see like their.
Are you gonna get us
posts.
canceled?
It's all right. You know what I mean? They don't.
From them?
No, I think we'll have supporters for this too. Anyway,
that's true.
I lost my train of thought now. Oh man, it was a stupid and a silly one. Yeah. Yeah, not that good. But you know what? Thanks to time travel, I'll be back yesterday to let you all know the better way this show should have happened. See you guys yesterday.
See you guys. All right. See you guys later. Thanks again for watching.
Thanks everyone for taking a look. We'll be back.